It's March the 12th of 2025, and we are here, as we always are.
As we normally are.
In order to talk about manga today. I hope everyone's doing okay out there, in wherever not here is.
Where would we most like them to be?
In their comfort of their beds.
Oh, okay.
In a nice lounge chair somewhere, kicking back with a nice cup of ginseng in order to, or maybe a nice, red wine.
Okay, yeah, a nice Chianti, a nice.
The way that classy people listen to Weekly Manga Recap, because all of our listeners are so classy.
This is a sophisticated show.
Yes.
Like we even removed Naputaku, who normally hangs right there, but now he's kind of keychaining it down here a little bit. Because this is meant to be a sophisticated show for adults.
Yeah.
I only wish we had hot chocolate we were drinking as we said that, like with enormous stacks of whipped cream. The fact that we're
massive,
drinking tea.
Yeah, with the cherry on top.
Yeah. Whatever the hot chocolate Flanders makes part in the Simpsons movie where he comes back to shave chocolate on it or whatever.
Someone shared a thing recently that's that episode is now equidistant from us as it is from the first episode of The Simpsons.
I mean, it's past. I saw that when it came out, and I was like, if that's accurate, then the Simpsons movie is considered old Simpsons, which that hurts my brain because I truly thought that was going to be the end of Simpsons.
Absolutely. Yeah. What's going on? Yeah, we are in the same little box. I don't know. Aren't we always? We're always in the same. We're always in the same video.
Yeah, we're always in the same box. You know, the whole of it. I don't know why it's different. Everyone seems to act like this is a different thing.
Yeah.
Now, the people who aren't listening or watching are just why does the quality sound like shit?
Yeah. We, so for those of you not actually watching this, the visual evidence here is that I'm in currently the same physical location as Quinn. Nicole and I took a vacation. We're in Pennsylvania now. And I guess that we are still kind of getting used to the setup because we're both operating off the same microphone for once.
Uh-huh.
So we may have to adjust that a little bit here and there. But we're just kind of hanging out for the next few days here. And part of that is that, it's Wednesday night, so we're just going to do the podcast like normal.
Yes. Some people would question why you'd come to Pennsylvania for a vacation.
Because you're here.
Okay, that's fair. Wow. That actually makes me feel pretty special. Wow, people come to vacation in Pennsylvania for me. Wow. Me? Little me? Yeah, we're gonna see how this goes. We didn't really have a tremendous game plan for this.
No.
So, maybe this episode won't work. Who knows? Or this is the greatest episode ever and we can only ever promise you this one time.
It's one or the other. There can only be
there's no middle ground, nothing but extremes all the time.
So base your expectations entirely on those two polar opposite fields, and here we go, I guess.
Yeah, we have thankfully a pretty manageable amount of series to talk about this week.
Yeah. We've got so many screens in front of us right now.
Yeah. We both, I have my usual setup here with all the tabs on there, but I also brought my iPad in there so I could read it, and then Nick was like, well, I should pull it up on my phone as well.
Well, you said it's over on this monitor here, and I do understand that, but the microphone's in the way.
But it isn't when I usually record, Nick, is the thing. Would you like this?
I got it on my phone. It's
okay.
fine.
This is a bigger screen. Not to, shit on your phone, but look at this. I mean, this is crazy. I'm 7 times bigger than yours. It's
all right, calm down.
I just feel like being a bitch.
All
And
Screen bullying.
no, that you're here, so I can do this. I can be like, look, I'm gonna poke you and stuff. Like I can do whatever I want. Not like anything, but like I can uppercut you. Like anything's possible in this episode, Nick. I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna actually hit you with the Vito and the Brank beef case.
Okay, well, I have no defense against that, so please don't do that.
Well, I'm gonna say what your defense is going to be is you'll be able to see me get up out of this chair and walk over to it, and then you'll know.
Can we maybe, I don't know, turn this on the stand? Because I think that part of the problem is because I am actually closer to it, but it's pointing more towards you.
Oh, here. Why don't we do this, where it's closer to you, and I have a naturally loud, stupid voice.
We will, I guess we'll try this then. Because this is how I talk normally. So, we'll see. Someone says perfect, but I don't know if that's okay.
They might have just meant the joke we made.
Oh,
which,
well, fine.
Of course, is perfect.
Okay. Everyone says it's better than this. All right, fine. I guess that I have ownership of the microphone now. Should we just start doing manga talk then?
Let's start doing manga.
Right.
We get color pages.
So
and
many
story.
color pages.
Nick, I got a theory.
What's that?
I think this little series called Ichi the Witch might end up being a big deal.
Maybe.
Because it got like 7 color pages in chapter 25. They might be boosting this.
That's freaking wild that it's got that many. Because the last time I can remember so many color pages happening, I mean, I'm sure another one has happened. But the only time that I can remember like this many was like that one chapter of Bleach.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's just that chapter of Bleach that like
the entire thing was color. I'm sure that it's happened where it's been more than 3 since then, because that was a long time ago. But this is definitely a big sign of like there's a heavy amount of promotion going into this, and I think that it is as much very good reception as it is the fact that Jujutsu Kaisen ended and My Hero Academia ended.
Yeah, it's definitely like fill the gap now, please. Like
be big now so that we can make money. And hey, it's a really good series, so good. But we get a great, quickly becoming favorite of Team Descartes' report that gets filed in the beginning of chapter 25, or 25th Hunt, The Joyous Country. But this one's been written by Kumugi instead of Descartes. So we get kind of a recap of the events of like where we are right now, with Ichi encountering the world hater magic, Descartes fighting it off. There is, importantly, like, it's from Kumugi's perspective, so she doesn't know about the contract between Descartes and Ichi. That is not recapped.
Yes.
So instead, we just get they've encountered Gokuraku the Brutalizer, the man who wants to become a witch, but doesn't seem to understand that he can't, and how they're dealing with him right now, and how he has decided to just run away with Ichi because Ichi has learned the secret of becoming a male witch. Then we get a nice big 2-page color spread of them during what kind of looks like a lantern festival.
Yeah.
Because the country that they're visiting is definitely more based off of like, Eastern countries instead of the more like Western fantasy stuff we've been getting. And it looks like Gokuraku, that boy's got his thighs out all the time, it seems. So that's
there's a sauciness to Gokuraku that I feel like everyone should be able to enjoy. It's a character with some style.
Oh, well.
Wait, who'd you say?
No, I say Gokuraku.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, dude's just got his thighs out all the time.
Yeah, that's...
Oh, no, that's pants. Those are pants.
Are they?
Yeah, you can see like a little fabric right there. Come on, that looks like a knee to you? Like a bare human-ass knee? Nick, I don't need to pull up my pants, do I? Do I need to show you what a knee looks like?
It's just the way that you said ass knee.
I'm just saying, I'm looking at the little tiny image right there.
I guess that there are different shades on his hands as on his legs, so I think you're right.
You never owned flesh-colored pants?
No.
Not a single pair?
No.
You never dated Kanye West?
I should hope not.
Okay. What happens in this chapter of Ichi the Witch, Nick?
Last chapter, which I wasn't around for, by the way, ended with Uroro trying to get Gokuraku to kill Ichi, which, under the promise of like, hey, if you do that, then I'll bond with you instead, and then you'll get magic powers and stuff. That's what you want, right? And so, of course, Uroro is privately thinking to himself at this point,
He's celebrating already. He's in full victory, like victory lap mode.
oh god, like the smugness emanating from this little asshole right now. And he's just like, I'm just gonna fool this guy. And instead, Gokuraku just bends down and a little bit of martial arts candy for him, and destroys Uroro, blasts him against the walls. Which, of course, he's fine, but he's a little upset, obviously, with Gokuraku. He's like, why'd you throw away your chance of becoming a witch? And Gokuraku says, I don't really know exactly why, but there's something that's off about you, and you remind me of this one bastard magic that I know all too well. He says that's, an egotistical, arrogant pest who looks down on humans. You were probably just going to trick me. And so he sees through that because he just is based off of vibes, it sounds like.
Yes.
And that's just about it.
He's just like, all you magics kind of suck unless you're screaming for me not to kill you, so.
The two modes that I'm aware the magics operate under: cowering for mercy or screwing me over.
Yeah.
So. And again, I don't think we've really seen one that's operated outside of those at all in general, really.
I guess
just the mushroom, and that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that one seemed pretty chill. And then just kept bringing Toge Ice, like, more mushroom treats.
Mushrooms.
And she's like, you've ruined my aesthetic.
There is going to, if there were a poll among the best magics right now, it would have to be that one, number one, like, all the way, and then everyone else fighting for second somewhere. So, Gokuraku...
Oh, that's true. There is the prophecy magic.
Yeah, she's, I guess, been kind of chill.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on how you define screwing people over.
Also, I guess it depends on how you define magic, since she's also like a person who's been possessed.
Gokuraku gets really annoyed when he's just thinking about that magic that he is referencing, and he starts clutching his head saying, I'm going to kill it, I'm going to break its skull open and stomp its brains. And he starts to decide to take this out on Uroro, at which point Ichi wakes up, and he has just heard Gokuraku's rant about this magic, and he's like, oh, tell me about that magic that you're so upset at, because, of course, he wants to hunt it. Little freak, Ichi. But we cut away from there to, actually, the scene that we saw in the 2-page color spread before, with all the lanterns out.
And the nude pants.
Yes.
Gokuraku takes his pants off. And we're all like, whoa, I thought you had flesh-colored pants on. He's like, nope, these are my bare-ass knees. And he just starts hitting people with, what's the martial arts where you hit people with your knees a lot? Kickboxing?
Muay Thai.
Muay Thai, yeah, he just starts Muay Thai people.
Komugi is very blown away by the Bakugami area, and Descartes is still very upset. She's like, oh, I biffed it.
I like her. She's like, I'm going to die.
Because she knows that
she's like, I shouldn't have made that deal.
Oh, man, instant regret. I like how Komugi has to be like, it'll be okay. She's like, all right. All right. It was like me last night when I was sick and Nicole had to comfort me. They're greeted by someone who is like, oh, you're here to investigate the potential human hater, yes? And Komugi's like, oh, but I thought we already took care of the human hater magic. But Deskers is like, the prophecy said that there was a slumbering magic. And that one was not sleeping, yeah. So...
Unless you want to sleep in a cage made of spiders, which...
Some people do.
Honestly? I'm not against the idea. Anything once, right?
You got to get those statistics up for the swallowing spiders in your sleep.
Yeah. I'm trying to hit my quota early.
It's a noble goal.
That way, because you don't want to have to still be like swallowing spiders when you're 70 because you haven't hit your quota yet. They don't let you into heaven if you haven't swallowed like 12 of them. You're like leaving spider bait in your open mouth. You're like, I gotta get at least 3 more. Come on. But if I just sleep in a cage made of spiders, I'm gonna get at least 7 or 8. Like I'm really kind of
1 or 2 nights of that. It's like, all right, here we go. Now with all that being a good person stuff, nah.
It's actually the only qualification you need to get into heaven. Because you think
you're like breaking people's stomachs open.
Like, Mother Teresa made it up there, and they were like, sorry, ma'am. You only ate 5 spiders. We have to send you to hell.
The fact that it's some spiders.
It's an amount of spiders. She ate some, but not enough.
Oh my god. Run into like Attila the Hun up there. It's like, what the hell? He's like, I ate a spider for breakfast every day. Oh man. So their guide who has appeared says like, oh, you say that there's a human hater in our country. That's so horrible. If only they could just all be like Lord Bakugami, who is a peaceful magic. It does nothing but grant us human blessings and joy. And of course Kamugi's like, what are you talking about? He leads them through a curtain, and there is a giant tapir.
Is it tapir?
Tapir, I guess. Yeah. And also could be called a baku, which is a Japanese oni that is known to eat nightmares.
Also could be known as Muna, the Pokemon this is based off of, who, of course, synergistically is going to be coming into Pokemon Sleep next week, just in time for the Cresselia event.
Is that true?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So, you know.
Is it just Muna or also Musharna?
Musharna is it? Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Usually,
okay.
if you can evolve, you can. But I say usually because I currently have a Primeape. It cannot evolve into a Nihilate. Oh my god, have you not seen the evolution for Primeape yet? Where he got so angry he died, now he's a ghost fighting type?
What?
Alright, hold on. This is why it's handy to have another screen. I'm gonna pull up this Pokemon real quick for you.
All right. So yeah, Lord Bakugami, whose eye seems to be the size of a human, is just kind of chilling out, asleep, and the guide says like, "Oh, come and offer your greetings to our blessed slumber magic, the great Lord Bakugami." And of course, both Kamugi and Desgras are like, "Oh boy, a sleeping magic. What the hell?"
Yeah, he looks so cool. He only evolves this way if you use like a weird ass move 30 times or something like that, and then he gets real mad, dies, and comes back as a ghost who keeps fighting.
His bracer things are broken.
Yeah, you can't stop him anymore. He's unchained.
I'm not sure about that expression he makes.
Why? What do you have against it?
He's just kind of going.
Yeah, what do you want?
It's the fact that he has a mouth, because Mankey and Primeape don't have mouths on their designs.
He doesn't have a mouth.
It's right there.
What are you talking about?
Oh, it's part. That's a vein.
Yeah,
okay. No problem then. Okay.
All right. Yeah. No. They kept to the classics.
I thought he was making a little.
Audience, by the way, you're gonna need to pull up a picture of an Nihilate real quick.
Yeah.
just consider it like a joy to yourself.
We have too much power now.
Yeah.
So Lord Bakugami, all the people of the country of Bakugami, they treat him as a guardian deity and a crucial pillar of emotional support. And so the guy who has come to them like offers up a prayer to him and says like, "Oh, this is our God and our precious family. He has saved us all." And Desgras points out like, okay, so what if someone were to
Hunt.
hypothetically try to acquire Lord Bakugami? And so the guy says, "Oh, that's easy. They would be executed. Because to harm Bakugami is to harm the village of Bakugami, which would be treason, and they would be beheaded. We have been suffering deep within the earth, and then our holy magic came and rescued us all. In other words, Bakugami is our most revered savior." And at the same time, Gokuraku says that Bakugami is the worst parasite ever. So the one that has screwed him over and that he has a great resentment against is this beloved slumbering magic that is a god to the village. Well, that might complicate things.
Now, Nick, this is two different perspectives, though. So who do you think you're going to believe?
No.
Well, I mean,
Is the answer.
like, are you going to believe Bakuraku, or are you going to believe this nice guy? You just said that this guy's the magic tapir is our savior.
I don't see his eyes. You hide the eyes, you hide the lies, as Mr. T once said.
Whoa! So wait, how do you feel about the character of Jin from Bleach?
Yeah, there were never any problems with trusting him.
Check and mate, Nick. What do you think about Brock from Pokemon?
Brock, you did see his eyes once. It was very disturbing.
Wait, did we?
He literally like did like one of these to like make a face at a Pokemon or something.
Oh
like
wow,
that.
I don't remember this. Was this original series or is this the non-canon stuff after Gen 2 that I stopped watching?
I don't know.
Okay.
But you're definitely right about Gin. There was never anything about him. He said what his Bankai did, and it did that.
That is true. But you got to give it to him. The dude was very forthright with what his Bankai did when it was time. He's
It's
like,
big.
Yeah, makes a poison. That's the whole thing. I believe Jin also did open his eyes, though, by the way.
Oh, yeah, in order to be creepy and stuff. Gokuraku says that, yes, Bakugami is made out to be a savior, but actually it's just a quote-unquote cutely wrapped bundle of concentrated feces. And he bows his head to Ichi and says, hey, please help me to acquire Bakugami, even if it means making an enemy of a whole country. But at that point, we cut over to Bakugami, the magic Bakugami, and specifically into its snout. I didn't realize this the first time I read this chapter.
I didn't realize it until later. I was like, who are we closing up? And I wonder where they're at.
Straight into the snout, where we see a new figure, a figure with glasses. I guess they're glasses. You can only see one of the lenses, but I think the other one's just hidden behind their nose.
Yeah, it's like the little glasses that you wear on your nose. Who used to wear those? Did Job wear them?
What?
From James Bond. Hold on. Nick, did I explain everything to you? James Bond, Job. They know what I'm going for here. He did not. In fact, he does not seem to wear glasses whatsoever. Never mind. He was just short and had a bowler cap with a razor blade on it.
Right, which definitely would work the way it works in the movies. So this figure says, "It is almost time, Lord World Hater. My God, my deity of destruction. In just a short time, I'll be able to massacre the whole country, and then I hope you'll praise me." And they have all of these like talismans on the walls around them, which have the same symbol as Lord Bakugami and, in fact, the entire village of Bakugami, which I guess is suggesting that this is Bakugami's true form, and that the giant Baku around it is just kind of a cute and cuddly shell to deceive people.
Perhaps. I was almost looking at this like maybe this is a witch that's working with this magic. Since we haven't seen, I guess now the God Hater magic looks like a person.
Yeah.
So maybe, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. So let me say this. I've been kind of like not feeling Ichi in the past couple weeks. This was the chapter that got me back into it. I wanted there to be more weird magics, like, that they have to go after, and it felt like we were like, you know, the Spider Woman was just defeated in a second. Yeah. And I was like, oh, is this what it's going to be now? Like,
right.
You know, we're abandoning the premise, but no, we're going to keep with it. We have an evil little guy who's doing a lot of bad things. Find out the sleeping stuff. Like, what's all that all about? Like, I'm consider me intrigued.
Yeah, I kind of figured when I read this, like, oh, Quinn's probably going to feel a lot better about this now, because it's like, all right, we're centering the magic itself again.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's intriguing, and it also makes me more interested in Gokuraku, for that matter. The fact that he's got this physical, not physical, but personal attachment to the magic that he's going to have to work through a grudge with. Yeah,
I think there's going to be some interesting. So we know he's going to join the team in some aspect, or be a reoccurring character. It'd be cool to see. I wonder if they're going to evolve him more from like from
a primate.
No, just because you got an eye on the brain now, like we all did when we first saw it. I just meant because so far we've seen him flick things a lot.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that is going to be like his iconic move or something like that, or if like there is something left to reveal. Because I honestly think it might just be kind of cool to, like, I don't know, snap, like flicking things is kind of like a cool...
I wanted to play a character one time that was going to be their signature move. That game fell apart very quickly, unfortunately. It was we were playing like an X-Men themed superhero game, and the character that I came up with had isolated super strength in his fingers and toes.
Ooh.
So his whole thing was basically like flicking things really hard. So he would like carry all sorts of small objects on him. So he had different attacks based on the object that he flicked.
I think I thought for a moment, I was like, I think I had a character just like that for my One Piece RPG, but I realized I think my friend Frank actually made a character like that, and I'm just stealing it and taking it. Yeah, I'm just like, I've just stolen their OC, and it's mine now.
We've all done that at one point, right?
Everyone's done it.
If you don't put at the top of the introductory profile or the image, original character do not steal, then that means it can be stolen. So keep in mind out there, you guys that are past the DeviantArt generation need to remember that trick.
Yeah. All you Gen Zs who are listening to this podcast.
Can't steal it after you do that.
All you Gen Alphas who are listening on your iPads, for some reason your parents aren't paying enough attention and you just clicked links that you shouldn't have to get here.
Quinn, more swear words now. Come on.
Booger. Nick, let's talk about Blue Box.
Blue Box, chapter 187, Stay Close to Her. Last time, it looked like Chinatsu had been kidnapped by the phantom thief Steel. And in this chapter, Taiki is paranoid that it's like Matsuoka that's done it.
I feel like that's his immediate turn too. He's like, it's gotta be that motherfucker.
I thought that he was gonna blame the guy who actually locked him in a warehouse.
Yeah, I would have too. I'd have been like, there's a dude who's factually tried to take Chinatsu from you before.
Absolutely. Like, by utilizing that check, yeah. So he's like, all right, far right warehouse, I guess I'll go this way. So he's like, hey, Matsuoka. And instead, it's Nagisa. And this was surprising because, like, oh, I thought it was going to just be the two, like, Kohais that Chinatsu was, like, bonding with when they came to practice with her. Yeah. And it's like, no, Nagisa, like, arranged for this so that she could just have a talk with Taiki about her friend that she cares about.
This is, like, an extraordinarily cool chapter. Obviously, we haven't really talked about, like, anything that's happened in it yet, but, like, the premise of this chapter is just like, hey, Chinatsu is my great friend and you care about her. Please keep doing that because I won't be by your side anymore, really.
So, Taiki's like, what's going on? And Nagisa says, like, yeah, so Chinatsu in his second year had something to do in the faculty room. And Taiki is probably like, okay, sorry, Matsuoka-senpai. Just jump to conclusions.
I'll call off the hit.
Well, because of the shared universe.
As we've established before, yes, he has the boy from Kill Blue, Sakamoto Days, and the Shinobi Undercover characters all are coming out. This is actually that game where they just put all the protagonists and they're like, pick 3, the rest are coming after you.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, why the fuck did I pick Chinatsu to be one of my 3? This was such a big mistake.
She's just like, I guess, the least emotionally trying to have them.
Yeah. I was going to say very, very even-keeled, but I am going to be like, could you stop dribbling?
I've got to practice.
Could you barricade a goddamn window?
I don't know.
Luffy's going to be here in a second.
If I barricade the door...
Why didn't I pick Luffy?
If I barricade the door, I can't get to the basketball course to practice. God damn it, Chinatsu.
She's got me there.
You worry about that sports scholarship. It's okay.
They're only coming after me. They're not coming after you.
So Nagisa just says, like, hey, I want to have a talk with you about, and she starts by saying, like, about why you like Chinatsu, and immediately Taiki's like, abandoned ship, turning around. And she says, I'm just kidding. And then, like, there is a very clear moment where she, like, gets, like, serious and thoughtful, and she says, look, I just want, like, to thank you because you're the reason that Chinatsu stayed in Japan for 2 years, you and your family, and you changed Chinatsu's life and mine, probably Yumika's, all for the better. And there's just this quiet moment where the two of them, like, look at each other, and Nagisa's got this, like, like, grateful smile on her face. And she says, I wish that Yumika could have been more honest with herself sooner. And then she starts to, like, get a little sidetracked and just starts ranting about Yumika for a little bit, which is kind of understandable because, like, there's history there.
Yeah.
Like, that has not really been remarked upon very much prior to this, mostly because I feel like Nagisa in general is a little bit of a neglected character.
I was going to say, this is a character who, to this point, has not really had a, like, focal screen time to this series point.
She's had some nice moments, but she's basically just been on the level of, like, Nishida.
She's not like a Kyo.
Oh. But I do that. I do that whenever Kyo shows up in the anime when Nicole and I are watching it.
Did you just go, Kyo?
Kyo.
Okay.
Ayame just showed up in it too, and I was like, "Oh my god, Ayame's here! Thank God."
You're like, all right, we're in for it now. Good stuff's coming.
But she starts ranting about Yumika for a bit about how she's always stubborn and acts serious, even though she's really spacey. And she's easy to prank. And so she just says, like, hey, one time at training camp, and Taiki has to be like, she really just likes talking.
She just kind of wants to badmouth her.
So she says, like, one time she wanted to make hamburg steak, and she put onion in a blender, but the lid came off, and she got splattered in onions. And after that, whenever we were practicing, there was, like, onions coming off of her.
That actually is legitimately very funny that she's, like, dribbling, and there's, like, crunching, like, onions coming off still.
A very humanizing moment, too.
Be like, when you taking a shower?
No, straight to basketball from lunch. And Taiki's like, why did I get called over here?
He's really sitting there. He's like, what the fuck? And like, does nobody respect my time?
But Nagisa says, like, hey, the fact that all three of us were on the same team, that means that, like, I got pulled up. And it was fun getting strong with the two of them. And I wish that I had listened to Yumika more. I wish that I'd held her back harder because, you know, she's such a klutz that she lets an onion get the better of her.
Aww.
And we get a little flashback to one of the things that happened during Yumika quitting basketball that we hadn't seen before, because this is from Nagisa's perspective, where she tried to get Yumika to not quit the team when she was, you know, like, not into basketball anymore. And she says, like, look, if you just keep on playing, your motivation will come back, and everyone wants to play with you. But Yumiko was just like, I'm just going to be taking up people's time. I don't want to be the bad apple. And that was just kind of it. And then when Nagisa gets to talking about it with Chinatsu later, Chinatsu, you know, everyone's like talking about it in different ways, and someone says, she's so talented, I wish that she could leave her talent with us. And Chinatsu says, like, we're going to get strong enough to not lose, strong enough to fill the hole that Yumika left. So please remember that her talent belongs to her. Which is a phenomenally mature thing for, like, a 14-year-old to say.
That's Chinatsu for you.
Yeah. And so, like, the people who were joking about it were like, I'm sorry. I shouldn't even... It was basically a joke, but it's like, I shouldn't have even joked about that. And of course Nagisa was there when she said that, and she thinks, like, you know, I know that she probably missed Yumika more than anyone else because that was her childhood friend, and it's unfair to say it's for the team. I hope I was at least able to support Chinatsu in her loneliness. And in the present, she gets up and she says to Taiki, I'm gonna be going to an agricultural college in another prefecture. I can stay in touch with Chinatsu, and I can visit, sure, but she is my precious teammate, and she's my close friend, so from now on, please stay close to her. Because she cares about her.
It's very, very sweet.
Yeah. And then she's like, that's it. That's all she wanted to say. So she heads back into practice, and Taiki says, hey, you know, like, he just cheers her on, you know, gives a big cheer, like, go win the Winter Cup, win, and live up to the name of a phantom thief.
Not a dork-ass thing to say.
And Nagisa gives him a very kind smile for how dorky that was.
It's interesting because she picked the name Steal, and you're like, well, that's an appropriate thing. Stealing's a thing you could do in basketball.
Yeah.
Don't know anything about Nagisa's playing style. She might be the best, like, stealer in the league, and we would have no idea.
This is a real sports series, Quinn. I'm telling you. I know, let's see, Chinatsu shoots because she likes Steph Curry.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And her other teammates' names are... All right, so...
Wait, where's Nina? Is that's Hina's friend?
That's the wrong team. I don't even remember her name at all. God. More time goes by. It gets to the point where it's like the 21st of December now.
My birthday's already passed at that point.
Well, yeah, happy birthday.
Do you think they celebrated?
Your birthday? I don't have any reason to believe that they didn't. Let me put it that way.
Okay, good. Because I celebrate theirs. Everyone knows.
All of them?
Yeah. Every character in manga, I hold a small little birthday every time it happens. Which I'm not gonna lie, One Piece is really fucking me up.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot of birthdays I have to celebrate pretty much every day.
I definitely would see like, because occasionally you do see those like notifications of like, you know, it's so and such My Hero Academia character's birthday, and it's like My Hero Academia's got like so many statistically kept characters in it where they keep track of all that stuff.
Have you ever looked to see what manga characters have your birthday?
No.
Okay. I don't know either offhand. Do you know like any famous celebrities that have your birthday?
I know that I was born on the anniversary of Martin Luther King's death.
Yeah, that's kind of a weird.
I don't know of any.
I kind of asked you one question. You brought me a sad fact instead.
Well, I was giving you.
It's context. It's informative.
Yes.
Do you feel a kinship with Mr. Dr. King's assassination?
I feel like I cannot answer this question correctly.
Where were you that day, Nick?
I don't even know if my dad was alive, come to think of it.
This is a lead in to say Bob Barker shared my birthday.
Really?
Yeah, he's dead now, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
He lived to be very old, though. Yeah.
So I'm taking his energy.
Okay.
Against his will. He didn't have a choice.
I feel bad for Professor Peanuts, then.
Well, it's not like he wasn't getting spayed. Or neutered. I don't like.
It's very important that you know the difference before you put them in for that.
What are we doing today? A spay or neuter? I'm like, dealer's choice. And I'm just working with the one clerical person who's just like, yeah, whatever.
And they both require blades of some sort.
They just come back, they're like, we didn't understand what we were supposed to do, so we took out his kidneys. I'm like, oh. And he doesn't need those?
Oh my god. Okay. It's almost time for the Winter Cup. Practice is happening while it's snowing outside. Taiki is practicing in the same arena. He's playing against Haruto, and he gets the chance to, beat Haruto, and he's like, ha, I'm playing right-handed again, screw you.
It is very funny because it is very much now Taiki is in the
He's going to basically be the best player on the team.
Yeah, who is the last one? Haruto?
No. Haruyu.
He's the Haruyu now of this
He's
series.
the ace. Which is an interesting position for him to be in. They've reflected on that with him, like being the senpai to the new up and comer. And it's, hey, I wonder if like their paths will kind of overlap, like the way that Taiki overtook Haruyu at the end.
Yeah, I think there is. I think we are definitely going to see some level of that. Like, he is going to get kind of close to beating Taiki. I don't know if he'll do it, but it is definitely going to get very close to that.
Because he specifically makes reference to it here, saying, by the time we get to Nationals qualifiers, I will beat him. Yeah. So that is something to keep an eye on. Taiki, as he's walking away from that, overhears Chinatsu's voice, and he reflects, I won't be hearing it for much longer. But after practice, there's still snow on the ground, and some of it looks like snow is still falling for that matter. Chinatsu talks to the club advisor for a bit, and notes on the board that there's only 2 days left until Nationals, and she kind of just takes a reflective moment, looking around the gym, because regardless of how that tournament turns out, she does not have much time left here anymore. And this is the blue box.
The eponymous blue box, which again, not very blue.
It's not very blue. There's a lot more brown in it. But as she comes outside, this boy, Taiki has made a little snowman with the bottom snowball is a basketball. And he says, it's a Winter Cup cheerleader snowman. And it's also got a little flag that says Ganbare on it. And then he goes, hyuk, hyuk.
It's adorable. What I love is he even detailed the back of the snowman she wouldn't see.
Yeah.
That's the dedication.
And she looks at it, and then she's like, I just imagined you building this thing. And then she accepts the gift of the snowman, and
observes that Taiki's hands are freezing, and she's like, you need to be able to hold a bracket in these hands. You got to be careful. And then she takes his hands and winds their fingers together. And then she says, or maybe I'm just hot. And this is the most sexual tension that there has been between these two in this entire series at this point. They're holding hands.
It's very amusing.
Very steamily.
It's very amusing to me because, like, yeah, another series they'd be like, are they gonna kiss here? But like here, I'm just like, I bet they're gonna walk home holding hands.
Oh my gosh.
The revoltness of it all.
How will their reputations ever survive such scandalous activity?
Good chapter.
Really
I think
fun.
It's fun. I'm also very glad that Nagisa got a moment.
Oh, absolutely.
I just want to, I honestly think a lot of series and just like stories in general would do better, like letting characters talk with their friends. It kind of informs a lot about them, I think. And just the fact that like Nagisa's been around, she might be in chapter 1 for all I know. To this point, couldn't really say too much about her. Didn't really know her like ambitions or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I really like that they're like, yeah, I'm going to an agricultural school. I'm not going to be around Chinatsu anymore, so please take care of her, you know?
Re-experiencing the series because I've been watching the anime, there are like little moments that she has, but they're just like scattered here and there, and they're all tiny little things. Like there's that thing during the school festival where they're doing the maid cafe, and she's playing the part of like the butler in the maid cafe, and she like gets some people to back off of Chinatsu by pretending that she's Chinatsu's boyfriend. And it's like, you know, there's a little bit here and there. They're like, oh, she's looking out for her friend, and that's cool and stuff. She does it in an amusing way. And then it's like, she just doesn't do anything for dozens of chapters then. So it is nice to have some focus on that.
Yeah. Now, in the meantime, Nick, it's time for some Chainsaw Man.
It's chapter 196, Chainsaw Man to the Rescue! The exchange student that we were introduced to last chapter, the very nervous exchange
The
student.
one you didn't think was goth enough.
It's, yeah. So she says, I feel really bad for you guys. And of course, as you would if you were a teenager and this random exchange student just came in crying and said that they were going to save everyone, they just stare at her like,
Whatever. I love it. Like, we get into it a bit in the chapter, but like, this school's been through so fucking much.
Yeah.
Like, this whole town really has been through a lot. I'm sure they would see this and be like, whatever.
All right.
They're like, I'll run when she starts shooting missiles out of her asshole or whatever the fuck she does.
I think that my favorite thing about this whole chapter is that the teacher just sees this horrible receptionist and be like, you guys are good, goodbye.
you crazy kids, behave yourselves, bye.
We don't even get a proper introduction from her at all. Like, I don't think anyone says their name
I was
in
gonna
this
say
whole
no
chapter.
one says their name.
Well, she sees the kids immediately go back to, planning the festival, and she starts crying harder, and then starts looking like she's going to throw up for a second because she's crying so hard. She's biting her finger, and eventually one of the guys like, hey, you want to help us with the school festival? And she says, if I can save you guys, yeah. And so he says, all right, take those trash bags to the incinerator then. And she pauses, and she says, oh, but if you ask me to do something anyone could do, that's just a waste of my superior talents.
You have a very good voice for her, by the way.
It's not.
I guess it's just
Gakuro.
Gakuro. We just pitched her up a little bit, which is hard because Gakuro's already
He's
kind of
kind of
bitchy.
approaching my limits, yeah. So she says that, and of course she gets met with looks of confusion and disgust. And then she approaches them and says, I can save you guys with my special powers. You don't have powers. Shouldn't you take out the trash? And she approaches one guy who looks strangely guilty, I feel like, for a second, for not having alleged special powers.
She's all right.
All right, I guess I'll take the trash out then. And so she does. And then she's like, thank goodness, one less thing to worry about. Like, she's just solved a problem by doing that. So everyone exchanges an awkward look and is like, all right, yeah, you're kind of really bringing down the mood. You kind of suck. We don't like you.
Hey, you kind of suck shit. Can you go home?
And yeah, someone says, if you really want to save us, why don't you go outside and crush some ants or something? And so the exchange student goes outside and starts crushing some ants. One by one in a path. I don't know. I kind of like her a little bit more. She's killing ants. I like that.
Whoa. Wait, so you're not a fan of ants either?
Ants nearly killed me once. That's
With like a gun?
Well, that's why I wear this.
Oh, because if they bite you, you'll go
I'm
into
allergic to, well, I was at least allergic to fire ants. And I have no memory of this, but when I was like 1 or 2 years old, I stepped in a hill of them and had an allergic reaction, nearly died. Spent eat every week until I was like, 8, like once a week going to get like inoculation shots, to the point where I don't think I'm allergic to them anymore.
Oh, wow.
Because I haven't had an allergic reaction in, 30 some odd years, but I still wear my medical bracelets, and it honestly, like, if I ever take it off, I feel weird without it on.
Okay.
I'm so used to it. But, yeah, so I don't like ants.
All right. Well, I guess
it may give context for the times I've gone around my office hunting down bugs.
I was gonna say, yeah, like I was gonna say, like, oh yeah, I guess it's just a bug like all others, but you're like, no, these ones are the personal ones.
These are the ones that
I hate all bugs, but these are the ones where I kind of get like a little Gran Torino about it.
Right. They had like a mission dossier come in for me, and so now it's like, all right,
Your a picture, like a folder with your picture came in to them, and they were like,
I have the dot over my head like in Hitman, so whenever I spot them in their disguise,
that's why
that's why I occasionally just interrogate random people in case they're fire ants in disguise.
This also explains when you came to my house, you kind of just squatted in the corner for a little bit until you could take some clothes, and then you're like, good, now I can blend among them.
Anyway, so the exchange student goes outside, crushes some ants, until eventually one of the other students comes out and is like, hey,
it's the same guy she told to take the trash.
Yeah, the one guy who listened to her. I don't know what this guy's deal is, but he seems to have some level of empathy with her. Yeah,
he's just real nice.
He says, look, I kind of figured that if you moved here, you probably had some horrible experiences wherever you came from, and like all the other kids back there, they're also going through a lot right now. They've got their homes burnt down, their parents have died, that kind of shit. And school is the only place we have where we can smile like none of that's ever happened. If you want to save us, maybe you could lend a hand with a smile. And the exchange student looks at him, looks down, and says, well, unfortunately, as things are, the festival is sure to fail. He's like, what are you talking about? But I have the power to save you guys. And then she palmed the foreheads him and says, through death, I'll release you from your earthly suffering. But before anything can happen, and up on the roof of the school building comes a, and the not dead yet student looks up and goes, well, Chainsaw Man.
This dude's so eerily calm too.
Oh yeah.
He's just like, whatever, dude.
Yeah. And the figure says, listen up! Somebody's calling for help with a heart that burns to right wrongs. I've come from the depths of hell, engine revved and ready. I'll save you too. Oh wait, that's the exchange student, sorry. I'll save you too. And the figure descends and boomps onto the ground and then starts to rise, and oh, that's a lot more pulsating flesh than I remember Chainsaw Man having around him.
No, this is what it usually looks like, I think. I don't really stare too intently, but...
Defeating devils with devil powers. Delivering justice with the power of justice. That's right. My name is Chainsaw Man.
Now, did you pick the Daffy Duck impersonation before you realized how many D's were in his little speech there?
I tried and failed to actually go for Darkwing Duck.
Darkwing Duck, very good as well. Very close, honestly. I think similar space.
Because I got a lot of Darkwing Duck vibes off of this introduction. I am the terror that flaps in the night.
Yeah. So. Delivering justice with the power of justice. This just sounds like a dork.
No, he's cool, right?
I don't really know what the implications of this is. I know there's a fake Chainsaw Man around, but I don't I feel like before we got enough of a glimpse of him that the fact that this one is very skeletal doesn't make a ton of sense to me, but...
Yeah, unless it's, that Chainsaw Man is morphing somewhat in appearance as time goes by.
Or if this is just like some weird...
It could just be Denji, but something weird's happened to him. The fact... the Chainsaw Man does this a lot, where it's like, we're going to cut from one thing to another to make things, confusing until the reveal happens. It seems like the easy guess is that it's probably not the real Chainsaw Man. I feel like Denji is not well spoken enough to say something like this. So.
Yes. I guess we shall see. Maybe that's something to do with public safety as well, since they got Chainsaw Man for a period of time and did experiments. So maybe this is like their weird, fucked up, loyal Chainsaw Man.
A fake Chainsaw Man. Oh.
You got to hit him with the number of layers. I honestly don't think it's a manga if they don't have a conversation that gets somewhere close to when they were talking about the 3 different Kiras in Death Note.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good time. I remember that very fondly.
What if we just have the answers?
Now, this is what the second Kira would be doing, but that is against what the third Kira would be doing. And you're just like, fuck me. What am I reading?
All right.
All right, Nick. Let's Dandadan this conversation. There you go. Dandadan chapter 185. So you're the perp. You, as in Nicholas Freeman.
What the fuck did I do? Don't you attach me to this muscular half-naked man on a stationary bike?
Yeah, his Peloton.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to be something different. It's like a Peloton or something like that.
Because it's Pelodon with a D.
Pelodon, Dandadan.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
Perfect.
All right, we just came up with it, guys. We can
All right,
go.
that's been Dandadan. All right, next chapter.
Let's wrap it. All the ones I do, I just come up with a quick joke and then we do it. So we open. Rin is doing her little song. She's controlling the gravity. She's making people float. And then Ira is going through and she's attacking. But she's like, hey, Rin, could you, make your attacks wider? And Rin's like, sorry, I guess my power doesn't work that way. It seems like my range is, fixed and I can't make it any larger. But that's when Mai comes in and is like, hey, your powers are connected to your ability to do a song. Also your outfits as well. So until you improve your idol power, neither of those are going to get any stronger. And Rin, of course, understandably is like, I need to get my fucking outfit stronger then because I can't keep doing this.
I love Mai's entire thing, just in terms of her being like, I'm holding you hostage to make you a bigger star because I won't let you defend yourself otherwise.
Yeah. Oh, man. Sorry, I had to approve a message. So Ira says, hey, where's Yukishiro? You were keeping track of her, right? And they don't know where she is anymore. They're like, there's so many heads floating in there. Who knows who it could be? But Mai's like, she's right over there. Can't you see? She has all the pygmies defending her head. And we can see Yukishiro's face, and all the pygmies are kind of hanging around. Our 2 characters cannot see her at this point. They're like, we don't see the pygmies.
Because the pygmies are invisible to them.
Yes.
Which is interesting because that means that they have invisible shield stuff going on instead of just being invisible around her head.
I forgot the the specific quantifiers that the pygmies operated under. I remember they couldn't see them when they first went into the room and fought Yukishiro, but they eventually did.
Momo at least could see them.
Momo. So was it just...
Be.
Yes, I apologize. My grammar was not great there. So yeah, they're not able to see her right now, and I guess because Momo's not there, she can't either.
Yeah.
So no one's able to see it, but they know, Mai, you can see her, right? And these pygmies. So can you go help her? She says, yeah, but you won't be able to use my powers. So Ira's like, don't worry, I'll defend you guys for the meantime, basically. And it just takes 1 second for Mai to be gone and a head to go flying past Rin, and she's like, I changed my mind, come back.
Oh man.
Mai goes up, says, hey, pygmies, come with me, we can help Yukishiro. They latch onto her and start forming a train. And Rin shouts out, Mai, head straight for the basket and dunk upwards. And we just see Mai, who at this point is basically just a giant head with a little floating body underneath her. And we start seeing the pygmies gather around her. It is one of the best visuals.
It's so good.
These fucking pygmies are posing like a basketball player with her head. And she is like dribbling up to it. She's not actually dribbling because unlike the basketball players that were doing that.
Our good friend that we are bound to protect. Let's just bounce her skull off the ground over and over.
Mai goes for this jump shot underneath dunk. And like 4 players come up to block her. And it looks really bad. And the anime, when they get to this scene, this will probably be like 2 minutes of drama or something like that. But these are just pygmies. So they just break their body down. Slide up underneath them, reverse dunk, boom. Yukishiro is back. She's doing great. Ira comes in and saves her before the basketball players can just grab her and dunk her head again. And she grabs Rin as well, and they're flying. And she's like, hey, Yukishiro, stop. Calm down, open your eyes, it's me. And she's like, immediately like, oh my gosh, Miss Shiratori, me did it. They're the one who blackmailed me. I don't know why it gets cut off. I guess because
it's strange. Like unless there's like supposed to be like Ira's talking over her.
Yeah, maybe that's what it's supposed to represent. But she says who blackmailed her, and it is the gym teacher. We see an image of the gym teacher, notably picking his nose, Nick.
Yeah, you pointed this out, I think.
In a Discord, I fully. This is not me discovering this. Little Dan. Friend of the show, who is a very big theory crafter and nerd, sent me this first and was like, did you pick up on the subterranean connection there? And I was like, I don't even know who the fuck you're talking about.
Right.
At first.
He goes even further, though, because he doesn't just pick his nose, he then eats the booger.
Yeah, well, as you do. If you're going to have a booger on your nose, what are you going to not gonna store it somewhere?
Anyway.
Mr. Murakami is the one. He has been going through the social media accounts of all the female students to find those who break the law or breaking school rules and then blackmail them into doing gross things. He's a bad man that Ira straight up's like, cool, he's a bastard. Let's go beat the shit out of him.
Good old Ira.
Yeah. But Rin notes, they've gotten big.
Yeah.
And we get like a 2-page spread of all of the giant basketball players. There's still some regular ones, but several of the heads are also getting very large as well. And not only that, the walls of the gym are starting to close in as well. And the range of Rin's gravity control is also starting to lessen. She has been singing with no rest. She is still just a fledgling idol, and she's only probably got about 5 minutes left in her. So Ira's like, okay, this is really, really bad. I can't protect both of you and defend against these guys. So Yukishiro, you're going to have to use your pygmies. We got to find this guy. He has to be somewhere in this gym. We have to beat the shit out of him, basically. And then we cut over to, as mentioned, Murakami on the Dandadan. And he says, they're really putting up a good fight, aren't they? But I'm no dummy. I'm not in the gym. The second you all stepped in that gym, you were hurt.
What does that even mean?
Nick, I feel like it was pretty self-evident.
I'm so grossed out by him doing this in his underwear, too.
I mean, it's understandable to exercise in something that makes you, gives you, freedom of movement.
I'm not saying
it's more that we also found out how gross of a person he is this chapter.
Also, do you feel like there is, a little bit of maybe, moralistic retconning that's happening here with Yukishiro, in that she was specifically blackmailed into taking pictures of herself? Because I think before it was originally that she just, decided to take, a risque picture, and then that got caught, and it was turned against her.
It might be, but it does give context to why she took it, and then did it. I do think that, look, I think we have to accept Yukishiro is just a member of this group now. That's just,
right.
She is one of the Dandadans, or whatever the fuck you call the characters of this series. And the idea that they try to, maybe there is, I don't know, but honestly, I think it does just kind of give more context to why she made that decision, especially for a character that doesn't.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, it just seems a bit, I guess it just kind of stands out a little bit to me, especially because, we had the conversation about Psych House in terms of that character, she got off so easy for stealing and stuff. If it's a matter of this this character did something that is quote unquote immoral and stuff. So
I could see. I think
if there's like a backtracking thing on that to say like, oh, she was forced to do it instead.
Maybe I don't know how Jump editorial was going to work, but this is a series that's like 200 chapters in and super popular, so I don't think it's going to be anywhere near the same scrutiny that like a brand new chapter from a new mangaka is going to be. Maybe it is a way, but I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't know. I don't think about that aspect of her character too much, I guess.
Like, I don't mind it either way. It was just something that occurred to me as a
Yeah,
thought.
it's very possible. Honestly, I even forgot that was part of her thing. I don't know why. It's
Well, it didn't help that there was a big gap between chapters.
I was going to say, there was like a period of time where I wasn't reading the manga as much, or I read through a whole bunch and then didn't read anything at all for like a month.
Yeah.
All right, Nick, now we've been talking about some good manga. So let's go talk about a great manga.
All right. Yeah.
One Piece.
Wow, it feels really early in the night, but okay.
Yeah, we're loosey-goose. You can do whatever here.
Astro Royale. Chapter 44, The Scheme. Hey, y'all. Have you been enjoying the Astro Battle Royale? No? Good, it's over.
But Nick, it's a tournament manga. How can it end before it's...
during the tournament? No one's ever thought of doing that before.
This is the innovation. See, in Dragon Ball when like every tournament just like they had a conclusion? Bullshit garbage for shitty mangaka. A real talented mangaka just ends it early and
But
just
not
says,
like-
let's do the final match.
But not like really early.
No, that's another...
One match before the finals.
That's another thing another shitty mangaka would do, is ended it early, too early. One match before the finals, you do it. In case you were curious what the ramifications would be if Hibaru and Tarasu did have to face each other to some extent.
No. Gotta save that one for WrestleMania. Oh man, yeah, the Astro Royale Rumble is not the place to do that match. Chapter 44, The Scheme. Tarasu has been called out by Kogane Godai, his opponent that we did not get to see his first round match because he was that important. He is flanked by mafioso Yakuza?
No, Nick, these are Yakuza. We have to say it right. You can start an international fight like this.
A bunch of Yakuza who look like gangsters from New York. And so Tarasu's like, oh, wow, ambushing me, huh? I thought that you were a better man than that. But who should approach but Natsutora Godai? The guy in...
Oh, Natsutora, good guy.
The guy who's in the stands with the cigars. We've seen him.
Sense. He's an important character.
He's very important. So he approaches...
Is he the one that had the bondage sleeves, or was that someone else?
I think they all just had bondage slaves. I feel
That's
like
just a thing for these guys?
That's just like a...
That's actually a part of Japanese Yakuza culture, I believe. Is you just kind of keep a couple gimps around for any time.
You get the tattoos. They're very intricate. And then you get a gimp slave.
Yeah, actually, when you graduate into being a Yakuza, you're given a back tattoo and a ball gag. And you just decide how you want to use them.
You ever hear of those like gang initiations that are like, we need you to kill someone in order to make sure, because then like you're in with us. So it's like, no. Yakuza, we do it by keeping a gimp slave. Because then you won't be able to leave the life, because then...
You've got to find someone who will wear this leather harness. By the way, human trafficking's okay to find it.
Oh, God.
Yes, you can still be a good guy. Jesus.
God.
I always think about that. Didn't last chapter end with the human trafficker giving fucking Hibaru like a thumbs up, and he was like, thanks for helping, bro?
Because you stopped this particular instance of human trafficking, everything's forgiven. Good job, dude. Come join our good guy team after this.
You stopped the human trafficking that your group caused.
Oh man, I don't even like think that far ahead with Astro Royale anymore, but that's gonna happen, isn't it? He's gonna be like the guy who joins their team at the end of
He's
this.
gonna be like, boss, I've learned a different way. I've learned I don't have to kidnap children into human trafficking to get by. I didn't say I won't, but like, I've learned there's a better way.
It's a sometimes snack.
He's the anti-hero of the group, you know? You can need like a Grim Joust, somebody who can kind of be a little evil, like a Logan. Like, somebody's got to kidnap some of these kids.
He introduced himself that way to the group. It's like...
It's like, you know what you guys are missing?
You know what sometimes I've learned? I know you guys do things differently here in the Hibaro faction, but sometimes kidnapping someone really pays dividends.
I came into this group and I noticed a lot of things. One, you all seem to punch people. Two, at least two of you have lighters as your power. Three, and this is the most important.
No kidnapping.
The most important thing, none of y'all are kidnapping people. There's such an easy way to just like, if you just did it, really.
Then you'll have two weapons, your fists and fear. Because then...
By the way, I also kind of punch him. My thing is a lighter as well.
Mine's way more appropriate. I set things on fire.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like. You summon like a cat or something. I don't get that.
Anyway, so Natsudora
Natsutora shows up and he says, "We've built our fortune over generations through legal arms deals, but ever since Astros have risen in power, our weapons stopped selling. In other words, we have to win this tournament no matter what and show our true strength to the Japanese Yakuza Association." Okay, if you say so. So, whatever. It doesn't matter. Because this guy is not consequential. That's the point of all this.
Yes.
He has all the guys with guns shoot Tarasu, who remembers he has a shield this time. Fortunately, he does not try and block all the bullets with his sword. And he says, I think, after... No, it's during the barrage of bullets. Never mind. I can see the flex coming off of his shield. So he says over the barrage of bullets, "So you think it's a good idea to disgrace the tournament, ruin Tunnel's reputation?" And he is heard perfectly over the sound of many guns firing. And so Natsutora says, "The chairman's goal isn't the success of this tournament," which seems to shock Tarasu. But then Shikaba comes out. He teleports in and he says, "You talk too much." And there's a that happens off panel.
Do you wish, like, because I sometimes wish I had longer eyelashes, but I feel like Shikabas are too long.
Yeah.
That feels like a lot of, like, upkeep.
That has to be. Like, because, like, every time that you would, like, just touch your face, you would have something going on that would, like, mess them up. So... but he seems to like them. I don't know. Maybe that's his actual astro power is maintaining perfectly groomed features.
Honestly, that probably would have been my wish. I'd have been holding on to a fucking, I don't know, like a vape pen. I'd have been like, I would love to not have to really worry about like makeup and upkeep anymore.
Never have to worry about getting involved in astro fights or anything like that because you can just like, no, I'm just naturally this perfect. Yeah.
I'm just naturally gorgeous. Yeah,
absolutely. So that happens. We cut back into actually outside the stadium. Let's just tie this all up in a neat little bow. Tsukushi and her stupid brother are thanking Hibaru for the help in saving her.
Yeah.
And he says, "Hibaru, I see you in a whole different light now. You're amazing."
Did he see him in a different light at some point before?
I don't...
He thought he was cool from the beginning, didn't he?
This is bad writing. So he says to Hibaru, "Hey, win no matter what. I just know you can make Japan a better place." And they shake hands. And Hibaru says, "See you back in Asakusa."
What a cool character that I'm glad we had in this fucking arc, right?
I contributed nothing.
His little sister who was kidnapped was more consequential to this arc than he was.
I mean, like, it didn't even need to be someone they knew.
Yeah.
It could have just been anyone.
I would like to assume that Hibaru, the noble Yakuza, would have saved anyone that was being human trafficked.
We saw him save another little girl from someone with astro powers in the last arc that he had no connection to. Because if this guy is if he is actually gone at this point in the arc, and if he is not coming back, then that was his entire reason for being there, is saying that they've kidnapped someone. Okay, they're bad people. Well, we know that they've done that.
Let's not forget, Nick, he was also there to convince them to go to the location they were already going to be going to.
Right.
You know, it's like an MMO where like you get like the main story quest is like
And
you
there's
must go.
There's
you must,
5 things that point you in the same direction.
Yeah, you must go to the capital of Galzorn. And then there's like a sub quest that's like you should go to the capital of Galzorn. And kill 12 pigs or something.
Not necessarily in that order.
Yeah.
Come back here after you've been to Galzorn and have killed 12 pigs.
Yeah.
But then you have to make a moralistic choice because you can either kill the pigs or you can spare them.
Oh, so I had to kill 12 pigs, and then afterwards I'm given the choice of whether I can kill 12 pigs again or save them.
That was a really interesting part of Bioshock, is they present you with the moralistic choice after you've killed
Yeah,
pigs.
I thought it was fucked up in that game. I killed one little girl, and I still got a bad ending. I was like, I saved 99% of you, okay? I was a little hungry for Adam once, and I'm a monster.
Yep.
Just feels kind of fucked up and unfair from my perspective, but whatever. I guess I was the one that was eating little girls for their powers.
Listen, we all know that the only morally correct thing to do is to murder everyone else in Rapture and spare the little girls only. Oh, God. So yeah, that match that's supposed to happen between Kogane and Tarasu, Hibara gets back into the same. Is like, oh, where Tarasu is, and then, hang on, who is talking? I don't know who's talking.
I think it's the guy in the
It's
mask.
Megaphone guy.
Yeah.
Okay. So Megaphone Gimp guy says like, "Oh, sorry, but apparently both competitors are withdrawn, which means Hibari Tsurugi wins." What a great finals to crown the champion.
Why? This is so fucking annoying. This is such a simple task. Why would you not do Hibaru's match fucking second then? Why would you do it first? So when this match gets canceled, they're just like, I guess he wins by default. You could have put a stake to the last match where it's like whoever wins this whole thing.
So he fights Tyra for what looks like the finals,
Exactly.
and then he fights Shikaba.
Exactly, and then you have that moment where Shikaba tries to kill Tyro afterwards, where he's like, I have no more use for you or anything like that, and it like makes sense as opposed to this where he just walks back in. He's like, did I win the tournament yet? Oh, I did.
So a whole bunch of people in the audience are upset because they're like, what the fuck? We had money on that match. And so he says, hey, everyone calm down, please. But then the head of the Yakuza Association descends and he's like, I'm definitely Yamamoto now. Look on me with the same gravity you looked at Yamamoto with. And he says, look, the Yakuza Association will take full responsibility. We will refund all your bets. And in addition, check out this Squid Game money pit. Here's 10 billion yen. This will be gifted in equal amount to anyone who places a bet for the winner of the next match. And so everyone's like, wait, what? How many people are here? There's like 10,000 people here. So you mean that we would each get 1 million yen just for free? Whoa! So they all go crazy for that idea.
They all have the same face too. Every single person has the same action. Also no women in this crowd.
Well, it's probably a blessing. So the Jia says, Hibaru Yotsurugi, step forward. And he's like, what are you planning? And
Hibaru just learned to talk actually yesterday. It's Yakuza.
That's all you can say.
Like, I guess that'll have to do.
Alright, I'll just pretend you said something.
I'm gonna just act as though you had spoken.
This evil speech doesn't work unless I have someone to
Are
do.
you like an understudy or something? I mean, whatever. I'm a professional. I can get through this.
But Jia says, I can get through this. I am a professional. I want the greed contained in wishes.
There you go. The natural line that this person would say.
So we cut.
Also, his eyes are closed, so we know we can trust him.
Yeah. We cut down to Tarasu and Kogane, who are alive, obviously. And Kurai's like, oh, what a monster. And Tarasu goes, this tournament is dangerous. What the fuck was your first fucking clue?
Well, before it was just a normal tournament where you could maybe kill your opponent if you wanted to. And there was human trafficking being done around this general scenes. Now there are plots happening, and that can't happen.
So the final match, the real final match, is going to be, of course, Hibaru versus Shikaba. And people are putting in bets all over on this right now. Shikaba teleports in. It feels like he should have had a way more impressive entrance than this. He just shows up the way that he does every single time. This could have been a really cool panel of him taking the stage for the big final fight of this arc.
I like the actual final spread of him where he's just like kind of covered in blood, and it's been like very clear that it's
He's just massacred a bunch of people.
Yeah, I was like, that's kind of cool. But I just said, yeah, this is a character who can literally teleport in. You could, well, I shouldn't say you could. If you were a better artist, you could like draw it in a dynamic way that's like very evocative and like terrifying. But as it is, he just kind of pops in the same way he always does, where like you just see like half of him hanging out of a little peacock thing.
That's it. And so Hibaru says, "You bastard, where is Tarasu?" And Shikaba says, "I'll only tell you if you beat me. Now let's do this." And that is the chapter. I feel like I'm continuously surprised at Astro Royale. Not that it's bad, but in the different ways it finds to be bad. And that's that for now. Let's talk about Embers.
Let's talk about soccer, Nick.
Soccer.
Some of the football.
Yeah, we know so much about...
Nick, tell me your favorite soccer player.
Landon Donovan?
All right, now tell me your favorite women's soccer player.
I don't want to say Mia Hamm because that's...
I was going to say Mia Hamm. You can't take mine. I already said Mia Hamm. You got to go with a new one.
Oh, Solo. The one that kept on getting in trouble for...
Oh, the controversial one, Nick.
The one who, made news headlines as a result, and so I know who she is. So...
Well, you know what my favorite is?
No.
Jaden Grace.
Really?
I don't know. I just made up a name.
Oh.
You don't know if it's a player or not.
I don't know. And it's not sexism. I don't know anything about soccer.
No, it's not. But yeah, it's a sport. Honestly, I can't tell you any male soccer players besides the gigantic, world famous ones.
The one that, was so famous that he married a Spice Girl, and yeah.
I didn't even mean him. Yeah. It's Messi is the one who's fucking gigantic.
Mm-hmm. I think he's the biggest one right now. So, so it's Embers, and it's the match to get promoted to A-Team off the bat. Takagi last time came up with a plan, and they implemented the first half of it by stealing the ball away from Inanaki. But the problem is that they still got to score. So as he advances with the ball, he knows we've got one chance because Inaki's going to make it back across the field after 3 seconds. So I've got one shot basically. And he starts to reflect, when was it that the guy everyone sees and the guy that I really am, thing on smaller text, started feeling so irreconcilably apart.
Now,
it bothers me.
It might be easier if you had used the gigantic screen.
Yeah, maybe it would have been. I don't know why it's in that small panel for this last bit. Oh, no, it's because he feels small. What am I saying? It's actually an artistic choice that makes sense.
It's actually beautiful.
It makes sense now that I think about it. But he basically just reflects on his experience of everyone looking at him being like, "Hey, come on, you're the scoring leader. Everything's on you." And he started to be like, and he plateaued. He stopped growing taller. His speed stopped getting faster, and he wasn't able to break away from defenders as much. And so we again get that time where he didn't take his team to the championship because they were 1 goal short. And, of course, in the way that all very well-rounded young men do, people looked at him and were like, "Too bad you missed that last shot." Wow. Good job, guys. So he starts getting ready to take his shot in the present, but he suddenly stops and instead darts around because he's like, "I need a better shooting lane." So he darts around his defender, smashes it, and goes for it, and then Komagai.
I just remember it ends with Guy.
Kamegai. That's it. Darts in and just kicks the ball away from the open corner. which has got to take a tremendous amount of talent to do, because he basically has to play goalkeeper without being a goalkeeper. He can't use his hands for that. And he just says to Takami, your wind-up's way too long. And that's it. So Takami has missed his shot, and he starts to experience like more, defeatist flashbacks. Turns out his dad's not great either. Who said like, you failed to win the championship. How'd this happen? I told you you were to be the scoring leader in all 3 years. You're my son, are you not? Improve. Don't disappoint me any further. So, Taka's father, the famous baseball player.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
I
You didn't react to me. Okay.
I had to pause. I didn't realize you were
Okay.
talking to me at that moment.
Okay.
I was engrossed thinking about it.
Okay. You were just thinking about Ice Shield 21.
Yeah, you mentioned Ice Shield 21. I was like, Ice Shield 21. Oh my gosh, the Sphinxes.
So Takami tries to make his way through to the defenders in order to get the ball back. He says, not yet, I can still do it. But Inanaki is back now. And he's like, oh, you can still do it? Really? You know better than anyone how impossible that is. And he just tugs on Takami's sleeve, jerks him back, and looks back at him as he runs past, as Takami's got this fearful expression on his face.
He's also specifically using that hand that he uses to, like, instantly gauge people.
Oh,
that
yeah.
last time he used to be like, I know something's wrong with you. So
Mm-hmm.
it's his way of kind of finishing his chase.
And he's like, I've broken him. This is the moment I was waiting for. That when I peel away that thin veneer of ego and squeeze the life out of them, that's what I live for. You're in high school.
It is always funny to imagine this dude at math class later. and he's like just getting every question wrong. Like he's an idiot. Like it's like the blackboard has like 2 + 2 and he's like writing like 17 on it, and in his mind he's like imagining himself as the snake coiling around his teacher and ripping him in half. Like, yes.
Yes, the square root of theta. This is a no, that's a
Hey, Heavy Mario, could you fucking finish the fucking quiz?
And he's got this nice visual in his head of like being the snake and choking the life out of that hawk that he visualized.
Can snakes do this? Can snakes kill birds?
I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure about these specific species of snakes and birds.
Which snake do you think is the strongest?
Depends on how you look at it, Quinn.
I feel like that was a pretty straightforward question.
No.
Which snake is the strongest? And like, all right, let's say it's a tournament. Like a one-on-one tournament between all the snakes.
It depends on which one comes in with a bunch of guns in order to stop the
Okay,
semifinals.
yes, there's going to be one match that gets ended early with the King Cobra because dramatic reasons. But I think Anaconda has this. And it's not just because I've seen the movie.
I feel like if there were a snake tournament, then the rattlesnake would be the cool rival character because it's got the dangerous like vibe to it. But I'm guessing the protagonist would be the Sidewinder.
Because it's like a cool name.
Well, and also like it moves in a very fanciful, cool way. So yeah, comment on this episode. Your snake shonen protagonist,
Yeah.
everybody.
Let me know what your snake OC would be like, and do they win the snake tournament? Just remember, the Anaconda's in there.
It turns out we have a massive scaly community in our next episode.
I think we do, just literally.
They might, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I would not mind if we had a massive scaly community. That sounds like we would get a lot of nice hits then. So,
Yeah.
boost our numbers, please. Anyway, Takami literally just falls to his knees after that because he is defeated in this moment. And Inanaki just looks up at the ball and is like, I just have to get the ball now as it's falling. But Kamigai warns him, you freaking idiot! Look out behind you! And Inanaki's like, what are you talking about?
Boom.
And of course, he just gets shouldered out of the way as Haitani. I was going for his first name for some reason.
I was gonna say, I think his name's Haitani.
It is. Haitani just heads the ball out of there. And we get a flashback to the little planning session when Takami was like, I swear I'll score. And I was just like, why do you swear? It's such a weird thing to do. Like, who cares it's not the end of the world if you miss. And Takami says, like, Wait, what? Are you saying you're like okay with us losing? No! But, I mean, like, who says that one thing going wrong means that the whole game's gonna be over? Because you'll get another chance afterwards if you miss. And Takami's like, I mean, come on, like, that's not the way things work. You don't get as many chances as you think. And Hayatani replies, making those chances is my job. So quit worrying about crap that ain't yours and kick that thing until you score. Even if you miss 12 times, 100 times, keep at it. I'll get them all back for you. Just you watch. And Takami looks up in the present as Hayatani has headed the ball towards him, and he says, hey, one more go. And Takami starts to get back to his feet, and as he does so, the visual of the snake strangling the bird has turned into a wolf with a dead snake in its jaws, and his feathers are fluttering about it as the hawk has taken flight. And Takami says, give it another shot. Forget about the boundaries closing in. Just do it. And he rushes in towards the ball.
That's the Nike slogan.
Oh, yeah, it is. This would be a...
This has actually just been the 6-chapter long Nike advertisement.
How insidious
I
would
wouldn't
that
even be upset. I'd kind of be impressed as like, you had to actually hire somebody to write the first 5 chapters to
We
lead to
thought
this
that
moment.
this would be like an actual manga series, and it turns out it's just for shoes. Wow.
Shoes don't even look that good.
He rushes in towards the ball, but Kamigai is rushing in from the opposite end, and he's like, it doesn't matter. I'm bigger than you. Even if you get to the ball before me, I'll just bully the ball away from you. It's fine. And then Takami jumps up. He takes flight, and he whirls. And he finishes his thought, just keep on doing it until it's done. And he bicycle kicks that and scores the first goal for his team. Yay!
This rolls so much. This was such a great chapter. I love getting to see like kind of the rise and fall, or I guess rather the fall and then rise of this character. And I love that Hayatani is this like we have this weird dual protagonist thing kind of going on in this series a little bit right now. And Hayatani is in this weird place where he barely knows the game. Like it's still kind of and I guess he did play one official game against the other team at one point. But like he does feel like somebody doesn't realize a lot about the game yet. So like I do kind of like his mentality.
He doesn't have
like,
the pre-programmed like this is the way the game works now.
Yeah, he's kind of like, isn't this a game? Who cares? And my job is to get you the ball. And I kind of like the idea of like if you are going to do a soccer manga, which like not only has it been done, there's very famously another soccer series going on right now. The idea of making the relationship between like a shooter and like a defender is, I think, an interesting one to go with. I think one they could definitely get mileage out of.
It is increasingly looking very similar to the Sakuragi and Rukawa relationship in Slam Dunk, because Sakuragi's big thing was getting rebounds, and Rukawa's thing was shooting, and Sakuragi was the protagonist. So... it's a similar dynamic in terms of like creating those scoring opportunities by being a defender.
All right, Nick. Well, we talked about sports long enough. It's time to talk about love.
Yeah, it's Hima-Ten. It's chapter number 33, Beachfront Leading Ladies. I mean, they did definitely allude to this at the end of the last chapter, so it wasn't really a surprise that we got a beach chapter, but we're getting a beach chapter now. So...
You act like you're not excited.
I'm not excited.
Where do beach chapters kind of rank in your like like we have to do these things in like a big romance manga, and you know like at some point
romance specifically.
Yeah, we're gonna have to at some point go to like a maid cafe as well. Like we got to go to a haunted house. Like where does beach rank on like the things we just have to kind of do?
It's kind of generally an unexciting thing because it's like, all right, you know, you put the girls in swimsuits and then that's just kind of like the main reason you're doing it. At least in terms of like if you do a haunted house thing, it's like, all right, you know, like characters get scared and that causes things to happen. I think that maid cafes, it's just kind of fun to see in general because, you know, it's like, oh, maid cafe. That's like something you don't
we have a
really
maid
see.
cafe here.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we might go check out the maid cafe at some point, Nick.
Okay. But yeah, beach episodes in a romance manga, specifically not very exciting. I think beach chapters in manga in general, it depends on what you do with them. Like if it's like a battle series thing, if you use it for just fan service, it seems like a wasted potential thing because it's like, it's the characters like chilling out when you don't normally get to see that. But you get to see that like all the time in like romance series anyway.
Okay. I like your thought process here. Let's see if that happens in this chapter.
We actually begin with Iemori cleaning Himari's house, and he's got the floors sparkling, and he's reflecting and saying, "It's like, I mean, it's summer break, things are just kind of like proceeding as usual. Where Himari's my client, but she's still like busy with everything." But then he hears from upstairs that she has gotten good news, and she rushes out. She's in her casual do. And she says, "Hey, Mori, I found a place where we can all stay together." And it's something that they've spoken about before, which is just kind of like, going to a place where they and their friends could hang out. It turns out that she knows the president of the talent agency, and they're going to get to use said president's vacation house for a night.
La la.
This is a very big vacation house because it's the president of an entire talent agency that's got some very successful talent involved in it.
Yes.
So she says, like, yeah, Kana wants to go to the beach, and Honoka wants to go, and she's asked if she can invite Mayu, and Iemori starts to realize, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to the beach with Kanai before our summer class even starts, and we're going to stay overnight. So he kind of wisely is like, maybe I shouldn't be the only guy here.
Yeah.
Can I invite the one male character we've met before?
You say that, but like when Yuka Mizu shows up, I'm like, I don't remember you.
He had maybe 2 appearances before this, I think. Himari brings up, like, while they're playing this, like, you gonna tell Honoka that you like her at some point over the break? You gonna? Because, that could affect your work if you're going out. Because if you do that, you might have to quit being my cleaner.
It's interesting because I never quite understood why Honoka would fire him if he got a girlfriend. But then I'm like, oh, it's not because you can't be my cleaner and also date someone I know. It's because she's like, if you have a girlfriend, you're not going to have the time to do this. And that makes more sense to me.
It could be, I think, a combination.
Sure, but before that I thought there was no logical reason to it. Now I'm like, I'm starting to put these pieces together.
Yeah. So she says, like, hey, this is, like a big chance for you, and your second year of summer vacation's a really important one. You don't, like, have to tell me these things because it's, your personal life and stuff. But Iemori just says, like, I don't really know. And Iemori's like, well, what does that mean? She's like, I don't know. But she says, like, she makes the excuse of, like, well, if it's going to be like a thing that you don't know about, then that means I could just lose my house cleaner without warning one day. And Iemori gets a little bit upset. He's like, you just, like, always make stuff about business. And it just kind of, I guess, like, you just always think like a CEO. And Himari gets kind of upset about this in return. She says, like, well, are you saying, like, I'm, like, cold-hearted? What? So, okay, what? I guess even though I'm going to lose my house cleaner, I guess I'll just cheer you on, right? So it's just a little tense between them for a second. And then they go back to talking about summer vacation and going to the beach. And sure enough, they get to go to the vacation house. It is ridiculous. It is much fancier than a regular ass Airbnb.
Yes.
It's got
at least 3 stories, it looks like,
and like on the beach too. So, and yeah, they're like, yeah, well, I guess we're just staying here for free. And also, there is a separate bed for each of them, so that's all taken care of. Yeah. Haruka observes, being a celebrity must be so cool. Himari admits that the president was not told that there would be boys here, which makes sense. And then Himari looks at her and is like, hey, you're not supposed to wear contacts in the ocean. And Himari's like, I'm just going to keep my head out of the water because in any way I'm like blind without my contacts, so it's kind of a problem. But that's foreshadowing, you see.
Did I tell you that? So I'm sure a while ago I told you the story that, like, this was like back when I had like Liam Neeson the cat. I was wearing contacts. I was putting contacts in, and Liam Neeson the cat slammed up against the bathroom door, and I was like, "Ah, fuck!" I dropped the contact, and then like my eyes were like bothering me like 3 months later, and I was like, God, I had to take my contacts. I was like in work, and I pulled out 2 contacts. That happened again recently.
Oh my God.
I was finishing Weekly Manga Recap, and I was like, I gotta take these fucking contacts out. And I
Double contact.
I pulled it, and I was like, they're two in here.
God.
Fuck me.
Oh my God. Like, some of the stories I've heard about contacts make me never want to get them.
I'll be honest, I'm really reconsidering if I want to. Usually I wear them because I think I look cuter without glasses on, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna keep doing this. I don't know if this is worth it.
Eye horror.
Yeah.
So that's foreshadowing, however, when it comes to Himari's contacts.
She doesn't pull 2 out.
Well, maybe she does. Honoka and Kana, meanwhile, are like, did something go on between those two? Something's going on here. Did they have a fight? But hey, we're going to the beach. Everyone's having a good time. And of course, they're going to the beach. There's a bunch of girls there. Girls are in their swimsuits. A whole bunch of people look at them and say, quote, their beach game is on another level. And admittedly, they have all the fun stuff too, inner tubes and like a blanket and everything. So they're here to have a good time. Mayu immediately is like, hey, Amori, check out how hot Honoka is in her swimsuit.
I kind of like Mizu or whatever her name is. She's just a good friend.
Just good wing woman.
She's just like, hey, let's check out my friend. Doesn't she look cute in her swimsuit? Tell her she looks cute.
Yeah, and Amori's like, it looks good. And then Mayu says, you chickened out and only showed off your stomach. Which, I mean, it's a relatively conservative 2-piece, yes.
Yes.
But Iamori doesn't care. It's like, got to see her in a swimsuit. Yeah. Meanwhile, Kana is wearing a 1-piece swimsuit, which is very different for her because she's often wearing bikinis in her graduate shoots. It's kind of upsetting to see the patterns just been like overlaid on it, honestly, when we've seen that the artist is capable of not doing that. And it's very distracting. I keep on looking at it and being like, oh, this is a very weird effect.
That's the reason why you have that page bookmarked, Nick. I get it.
Yeah. Yes. So, but both Honoka and Mayu are like, oh my God, an enemy has appeared, essentially. Yokomizo is like, say something nice to her. And so he's like, oh, yes, you look nice. And then Himari is just kind of standing over there, wearing her swimsuit. Looks away, and then Himari's like, hey, what's wrong?
I like how there's even a sound effect of pose. Like, she is posing. Like, her hand's on her butt right now. You don't do that unless you're trying to do something.
So, she walks off with, nothing's fine. And Yokomizo's like, she wanted you to compliment her. Like, well, what?
Well, here's the big issue, Nick. Why didn't we get a Yokomizu swimsuit, like, full-page shot? I don't know what his swimsuit looks like.
Maybe he wanted a compliment from Miyamori.
I think...
Maybe that was his tone, actually, was that she was waiting for a compliment.
Yeah. Guys don't get enough compliments. Nick, your shirt looks nice.
Thank you.
What?
I like your socks, actually.
Thank you.
I was just gonna see how long I could go with that.
I wasn't fishing for one. This is, equal opportunity.
Yes.
You know that they say guys don't get flowers until their funeral?
I did hear that recently. Yeah.
I think that's sad. I don't have flowers for you, so I don't like it. Shit out of luck here. Good luck, bud. I hope you can get them before then. But
I don't really like flowers. It's okay.
None?
In general.
If I bought you trace flowers right now, what would you do with them?
I don't know what that means.
Trace flowers, 3 flowers.
Oh, okay. So
I just felt like being multicultural.
It was in the middle of the sentence.
I know it was weird that you didn't have the way my brain worked naturally implanted onto yours, but I just meant it as a way to incorporate a little Spanish.
3 flowers specifically?
Yeah, just like 3.
I would be flattered.
Okay. What if I gave you 3 dozen?
I would be like, that's a bit much.
What if I gave you 300 flowers?
I would be like, I need to go.
You're like, I don't have room. I can't
go
take all
home.
I'm more flower than person.
And you're like, they'll be dead by the time you leave anyways. All right, I guess.
Yeah. Now, what if my flowers are just Venus 5 5s?
Oh, that would make me more likely to keep
There
them.
you go. You just gotta know what kind to get them.
You gotta know your audience,
I'm
absolutely.
gonna go into the flower shop. I'm like, do you guys sell a bouquet of Venus flytraps? That are like, fucking what?
Oh man, I don't know how I do with like pollen and shit, so I don't know. Anyway, so
Oh, are we talking about a manga?
manga. So, Iomori and Yokomizo sit down because they're, boring men, I guess, at the beach. And he's like, I don't know if she's like mad or something or what. And Yokomizo's like, nah, Himari's nice. She set up this opportunity for you and Honoka. So, she's being serious about being your wingwoman and stuff. She's being nice. But Iomori does reflect like, a lot has like really happened since she promised to help me out. And so I wonder how she feels right now. As he looks and watches that like Kana and Himari are playing around a little bit. It's a cute little shot of them playing around. Himari's inner tube. And so he's like, I wonder how she feels right now. Is she actually okay with losing me as her house cleaner? So close.
He'll get there one day.
But then a bunch of the people come in after they've had a bunch of time playing around and stuff. Kana says that they want to get some shaved ice. And Mayu says, I will treat you if you give half your boobs to Honoka.
I just like that kind of like, that's not possible. And it's like, yeah, I guess that's the response to have.
It is. But the specific wording of it too, give half your boobs to her. And also she says, you're so funny, Mayumi. And she's like, aren't I? Meanwhile, she's like drawing up plans for the Boob Stealer 3000.
There, yeah, little does she know there's a device back at that beach house she's going to use later tonight.
But Iomori recognizes that Himari is missing. And
it's just a knife.
oh, God.
Yeah, like not really a complicated device. I don't know if you need to label it.
Also, I want to note that Yokomizo looks like he is holding an orca flotation device of some kind, which I feel like is not situated enough for my liking. I need more killer whale-centric things in my manga. We have a drought since My Hero Academia ended.
That's true. Did you want a Gang Orca t-shirt? I can't use it anymore.
Oh, I'll need to see it. But
Okay,
sure.
yeah. All right, good to know. Now, Nick, if you were to identify with any creature from the ocean, would it be the orca?
And
consider this because the answers you give will determine the type of gameplay that comes up in the next chapter of your life. This is a demo for a game, yeah.
What? Hold on. You took me in about 3 different directions in 1 second, and I was not ready for it.
It's weird. I took my ADHD med today too. I don't know what's going on. It's just the new environment is shaking me up. I can touch her arm if I want. It's crazy.
Oh man. Anyway, give me more of that killer whale flotation device in the future. Every time Yokomizo shows up, doesn't matter if he's on the beach or not. Give me that killer whale or flotation device. Himari, meanwhile, is out floating by herself, and she's reflecting like, what the hell am I even doing? Because I'm like stewing out here when this was supposed to be fun, and obviously Himari doesn't know if he's going to tell Honoka how he feels over this. It was really unfair of me to ask that. But maybe one of the cleaning days, if I said I wanted to go with him to
she's
the
remembering
fireworks festival.
She's remembering that she asked this to him.
Yes,
and he
yes.
agreed.
Since she asked like, why'd I ask him that when I said that I was going to support him in dating, because she hasn't come to terms with the fact she likes this boy. Yeah. She is
her bucket hat, by the way.
It seems like I think bucket hats in general not good, but she wears it very well.
She's one of those people who feels like she can wear a lot of things that you're like, you shouldn't be allowed to wear this, but fuck, you pull it off, god damn it.
But unfortunately, she's so caught up in her own thoughts that she gets blindsided by a wave. It's not a big wave, but it's enough to get over her head, and it knocks her hat off, and also her contacts come out.
Oh no! Honestly, for a harem manga thing, when a wave hits her, if those were the 2 things that came off, I'm honestly pretty ecstatic.
That's got to be the sturdiest bikini in the world. Oh, no, wait. Actually, this point of view that we get of her legs afterwards, that's from the dolphin that's going to come up and steal it from her.
Yeah, that's the crab that's about to snap the straps off and run away with it. Like, oh man, they went to the same beach.
Fuck you.
I'd rather there's only one beach in Japan. It's the one with the sea animals that take your clothes.
This archipelago nation has only one beach.
There's just the one.
And she is like, oh no, what do I do? My contacts, because her vision is blurry, and she starts to panic. And the first name she thinks is Kana, but the first name she shouts is Iemori.
Aww.
And Iemori is right there.
And he's putting her bucket hat back on.
Bucket hat back on. And he says, hey, come on, let's get going. And she looks up at him and she's like, my contacts got knocked out. And he says, oh, well, then you need to wash your eyes. Here, hold my hand. I'll pull you to shore. And he does that. They get back on the shore. And Himari reflects, how did I used to help you with Honoka? Because things are different between them now.
You know, we're making progress. We're moving things forward. We've got, you know, something going on. I know some people have suspected that maybe, you know, numbers aren't looking crazy good for Hima-Ten right now. So maybe this is also, like, if they need to push forward. Honestly, I think this is more just we need to start making them... Because it's not even like they realize their feelings for one another yet.
Right.
And also, I think, like... I'm trying to remember when Chitoge remembered her feelings or realized her feelings for Raku.
I think it was about around a year.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like it was around this time and then it was like a year when they both realized it. So, or 100 chapters when they both realized it. So this would honestly be kind of on pace if she's about to kind of like put it together.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
So Star Beethoven, right?
Yeah, we're going to talk about we're going to talk about
For the chapter I didn't read.
I'm going to assume Beethoven shows up, he's real mad, and then they play some piano. It's going to take a guess. Case 15, ghosts sometimes seductively tempt the great detective. So we open this chapter. It's a haunted mansion, Nick. We just said sometimes when you do a harem manga, you gotta have like a haunted house thing. Here's the haunted house for this series.
You know, if you look really closely in the haunted mansion, you can see a small headstone, and the headstone is Nick's hopes for a character in Sidcraft, chapter 13 through chapter 15.
I don't like the way that sounds. A character shows up wearing a cloak, and they say, "Yes, this is the haunted mansion. I manage the grounds, and there's rumors of paranormal activity. I would like you to get to the bottom of this." So that is why we have Sidcraft and Ellie, who are detectives, Inspector Flumberry, who's with the police, and Lulu, who just showed up. They just say that. I just so happen to be passing by, and that's the entire reason for why she is here.
I'm glad that she has a private reason for being there, because otherwise that would seem like, well, that's just kind of lazy.
Yeah.
This and that.
So all of them agree. They're like, all right, paranormal activity, like, let's, do your worst or whatever. And the figure laughs and goes, "Gullible fools, I am Mad Hell Misery, the woman who strives to be a big-time criminal for the ages. Sidcraft, today you say your prayers. This haunted mansion, which is in my house after several weeks of do-it-yourself renovations, will be your tombstone."
It's a solid opening joke.
It is very solid. And you know what I love? Even though we get a little image of her renovating her house, there's not like a little box here that pops up to be like, Misery Madcap is a good girl.
Yeah, it's nice that doesn't happen right here.
Yeah. So they walk in. They're like, "Wow, it's really dark in here. Well, this is such a creepy place." And Souffle puts her hand on the wall, like, "Everybody exercise the utmost caution." She pushes in a block that like activates a switch. And all of a sudden, all these things start flying from the ceiling towards them. Like, oh my gosh, what are these? Are these bats? Are these crows? They're parakeets. Adorable little parakeets.
Yeah.
And we get a little thing from Mad Hat Misery where she says, "Bats or crows might be way too scary and I'd feel bad." And the little text box shows up that says, "Misery Kilty was inherently a good girl."
Quinn, I don't know. Have you ever felt the urge to explain to a comedian why their own joke was funny before? Because
to the comedian.
Yes.
I walk up to.
Be-
Hold on, I'm trying to think of a comedian example who's not problematic.
Might be here.
Janine Garofalo. I see one of her jokes and I walk up and I'm like, Janine, I got some advice for you.
Because they try, specifically when they do a variation of it, and it's like, no, you see, the reason it was funny before was because you could believe that the character was sticking to a plan, but they just were putting bounds on themselves because their other morals were getting in the way. There was never a point when Misery was trying to kill Sid in the diner when she was like, but actually I won't try and kill him, which is what's happening here, where she's saying, I want to scare him to death, but not scare him too much.
It was a very difficult character, honestly, to like completely execute that idea flawlessly every single time. So honestly, I'm fine with them kind of backing up a little bit from it. The inherently a good girl thing is something I want to bring up at the end of this chapter, because there's an interesting connotation that comes about when you get to the end.
Okay.
So they're like, cool, like it's just these parakeets. That sounds pretty good. But then they see a scary shadow, and the floor underneath of what's his name, Sid.
Doesn't just happen to me.
What's his name? Sid Craft and Souffle opens up and they fall down what looks like a giant pit. And Sid Craft's like, this is bad. We're going to crash into the ground. If we're high enough, this is going to be fatal. At the very least, I'll get underneath and I will soften the inspector's impact. So he like kind of whips himself. He grabs onto her, like whips himself underneath her. And they land on a comfortable thing of cushions. And we get a little thing of Mad Cat Misery saying, well, I would feel bad if they got hurt. And she's holding on to a whole bunch of pillows, and a little arrow is like inherently a good girl. So she's like, hey, thank you for trying to save me, right? And he's like, oh, don't mention it. I'm just glad to have something soft here. And then she's like, soft. And we see that, Souffle's breasts are pressed up against Sid Craft.
The material of her shirt and tie and vest all suddenly change in this
I was gonna say,
moment.
Whatever fabric her vest is made out of is bizarre. I'd have never seen a vest react this way. But there is a weird moment where she blushes and then like kind of jumps away, and Sid's like, oh, and I said something I meant the cushions, but your boobs were touching me, so to speak. And in his mind, he's imagining she's gonna be like, I'm very disappointed in you. But instead, she's just like, fuck pervert. And it's stupid. I don't know. This honestly feels like character assassination in a way to me.
It seems out of character for her to suddenly be that self-conscious about it.
I could understand if like he kept bringing it up and that happened, but like, I don't know, in the same way that like the kiss stuff, she was like, dude, why were you so fucking upset about that? If you just mentioned it earlier, you could have solved all of this. But then she was like, I did actually think about it. So I don't know. They see the ghost again. They're like, oh my gosh. But then Sid bumps up against the wall, and it flips around, and he's somewhere else now. And he's in front of Lulu. And he's like, oh my gosh, this is great. And he's carrying her, and you turn the page, and he has her on her back, or his back. And she explains, I'm sorry for feeling so weak. And Sid Craft's like, no, I'm partially to blame because I scared you so much when I came around that wall. And he has a moment where he's like, she's warm, but no, this is Elio's girlfriend. And of course, Lulu was thinking, okay, now I have the chance. I can render him completely defenseless with his weakness for seduction. And that way I'll ensure my job goes perfectly. But I really don't actually have any strength left right now.
They don't actually establish why she lost her strength, which is kind of weird.
Well, it's because he scared her when she flipped around. But
that's how that works.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if I'd get scared 3 times in a haunted house and I'm like, I can't walk at all. But as we note in just a couple seconds, she's not actually that powerless. But Sid takes this moment to be like, I've never really been able to handle scary things anyway. And I remember when I'd be brought to crime scenes as a child, I would cling to my father's back in fear. Why your dad was bringing you to like gruesome crime scenes when you were a child, I don't know.
But that sounds like something that his family would do, though.
I know, but like, they were rich enough to afford a babysitter. Like, this isn't like a necessity. Like, I have to bring you to work, son. Just like, you got to get used to blood sometimes, I guess.
I think that's why he did it. It's like,
guess,
you got to get used to these horrible murder scenes because you got to solve their mysteries.
Yeah, I guess so.
You'll be drawn to them.
So he just says, like, even with someone like my father, you would feel, well, safe when you're holding on to their back. So Lulu really kind of like embraces the detective's back. And she says, holding on to you like this is calming me down a bit. And then Sid Grace's like, and in her mind, she's just like, oh, cool, I've calmed down. Now I can go about seducing the detective.
It's actually kind of funny.
It is rather funny. But they see Lulu, I guess, specifically.
Oh, wait, no, hang on. There's a narration that says Lulu hadn't noticed that she was already seducing him. Thanks, Susui, for that.
Well, is it Susui? We're going to see in just a little bit, Nick.
What?
No, I got something. Just calm down.
Okay.
Just follow along. Just trust Nick. Know that I'm taking you on a journey.
I will trust.
And
okay.
Sid, whose eyes are closed in embarrassment because he's a big dork, doesn't notice the silhouette of the woman with the long hair again. Lulu freaks out and literally just sprints away. Like, literally, he's like, what happened to your strength?
Yeah, being scared takes her strength away. And gives back.
But conveniently, this is when Elio shows up and is like, hey, I found you. They fall down another trap hole, and they're like, wee, because they realize it's actually a fun slide. And they land in a big pile of cushions. And we catch back up with Mad Hal Misery, who says, according to my plan, they should all be catatonic by the horrors of the mansion's devious traps. But instead, they're all like, this mansion's so fun. It's full of so many thrills. This is great. This rules. So that's what happened. The chapter is ending now. Souffle is like, this place rules. I went through it 3 times. The Ghost Girl was really well executed. And Misery's like, Ghost Girl? They didn't set up any ghost. Wait, is it a real ghost? And it's very funny because that is the end of her appearance in this chapter. She lives in this house.
Yeah.
If there's a real ghost in it, this is like very concerning for her. But Sid, a great detective, Nick, picks up on a clue. He's like, Elio said something back there, but the first ones to get separated were Inspector Flomberry and myself. And it almost makes it sound like he split up before that happened. And he didn't say search or find, but he said chase after them. Did he know that Miss Lulu ran away right before? How would he? And then we get a flashback that says one of the parakeets stole Elio's hat, so she got nervous and had to chase it down. And then when she did, it just happened to be exactly right next to where Lulu was when she freaked out and ran away.
So all the ghost appearances were actually Elio. It was a full circle.
But Elio is asked, like, oh, are you over your dizzy spell? And Elio says, I am not. These feelings aren't something as crude as romantic affection. And it goes without saying it's by no means jealousy either. But today, I feel like being a teensy bit selfish. And she asks for a piggyback ride because she can't walk. Mm-hmm. Nick.
Yes, Quinn.
Notice anything interesting about this last page?
It's
Elio is
narrating.
In square text boxes. Is perhaps this entire story one of Elio's tales? And she's a bad writer who has to remind us what her character gimmicks are?
That would be very interesting that it's like this very accomplished and celebrated writer.
She's dog shit at writing. That was honestly, I don't know if this is a theory. I just noticed, I was like, it's kind of weird that we're only using square text box for the is inherently a good girl, like, explanation joke stuff. And then Elio's inner monologue here, and I'm like, I mean, she is a writer, so
yeah, all the rest of this in this
maybe?
chapter is thought bubbles if people are thinking. You're right. Huh.
So I don't know. Maybe it is, but it made more sense to me when I was like, okay, that's why she's just reminding the audience over and over again about this, basically.
Sure. I I'm very upset with the Mad Hell Misery thing because we were like, oh, this is great. And then I was like, this needs to be a character that doesn't come up very often. 2 chapters later, here she is. Her second appearance is way worse than her first one.
I would say it would work if they're going to make her part of, like, the crew. Like, you know, we needed, like, an Asumi or something like that. But, yeah, she should show up more infrequently if she's not going to be part of the 3 characters who always show up. And honestly, do we need all 3 characters showing up every single time? Is that something?
Yeah, I really do tend to, in series like this, dislike, and all the girls are in it, and the protagonist has a little run-in with each of them, because it's like, it feels like nothing actually happens, because there's just a small little gag that happens, and the gag is always a variation of the same thing over and over again. That was one of the most frustrating things about reading To Loveru, was that it would just be like, oh, here's a situation, and, you know, Rito runs into one of the girls every 2 pages, and something happens, and then boom, chapter's done. It's like, wow, nothing happened in that chapter. So, this really didn't do it for me. I liked some of the jokes to the point where I was like, all right, that's kind of funny, but I didn't laugh at anything. So, yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. Hopefully you can get more laughs out of Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi, Nick.
I don't know if it's a very funny chapter.
No, this is a chapter with a lot of laughs per second.
Chapter 35, see you later. Nehan and Jack-Jo defeated Yoraku Baku last time. And so we get Akari celebrating with everyone, saying, it's like, you guys are my heroes. Yay, you guys did it. And even Yoko Ono gives them a congratulations as well. And they're laughing and being like, yeah, we did it, woo! And also we kept our promise to Mr. Hijiri. And Akari's like, Mr. Hijiri? Nothing. Because he has threatened them, because he will kill them if they reveal the secret that he's actually kind of a nice guy who helped them out.
But they did. Like, she immediately she's like, you mean Mr. Hijiri? They don't follow it up, but like...
No, just like, no!
They fucked up. They're done. These characters are dead.
Yoroku Baku has already regenerated his stomach wound, but he is clearly still very, very heavily hurt. So Yoko Ono goes over to finish him off and exercise him. And as this happens, Yoroku Baku looks over at Jack-Jo and says to himself, it seems you found what you were seeking in the human world.
And worth noting, he is conceding. Like, even though he is healing, he's like, finish me, as a warrior would.
Very honorably. So he closes his eyes and mentally bids farewell to Jack-Jo, but Jack-Jo suddenly jumps in the way, intervenes in front of Yoko Ono and says, stop! He's my friend! Isn't there any way we could let him go? And Yoroku Baku says, don't be stupid! A warrior has no need for pity. But Jack-Jo says, I actually remembered a little bit about my past in the demon world. I actually had a friend. A friend I was really close to. And we get a little flashback of the two of them in a different context, which is just them, like, sitting together and amicably chatting.
Just chit-chatting like friends do, like buddies.
I don't know anything about that. So...
They should start a podcast.
Maybe if they had started a podcast, Jack-Jo would have never abandoned the demon world.
He's like, I can't go. I gotta do this week's episode of Weekly Torture Recap.
Anyway, so here's my monthly conversation about how I think we don't need to kill humans. Like, no, delay till next week.
There's no time this week. We gotta get to these iTunes
We gotta get
reviews.
to our sponsors.
Casper Mattress. They're like, you guys have the same sponsors we do?
Capitalism knows no bounds.
Demons gotta sleep in a bed, don't they? I'm like, do they? I don't.
So, Jack-Jo says, like, no, hey, look, you're a warrior, Yoroku Baku, and you know the demands of the victor are inviolable, so you return to the demon world right now. And Yoko Ono's like, look, you can't just decide that. If he ever comes back and he hurts someone, the blame is with you, and I will kill you too. And Jack just says, well, I don't care. And Yoko Ono's like, all right, well, you saved my life, so I guess I'll answer your request.
Yeah.
And Yoroku Baku's like, I am a demon lord. You are fools to underestimate me. But I know just how stubborn you can be. And he extends his pitchfork out to Jack-Jo and kind of like taps him with it, it looks like. And He says it's a parting gift. He goes over to Nehan and says that he was utterly defeated by the power they have, the power for others, and gives him a little pat on the head. And just like Nagisa with Taiki, he says, "Please take care of Jackjo for me." And Nehan promises to do so. Yakubaku goes off, says that he's annoyed that he still couldn't defeat Jackjo, but he says, "Don't allow yourself to be defeated." And he reflects, "We'll probably never see each other again. Farewell, my old friend." But he starts to walk off all cool, and Jackjo calls out to him, and everyone says, "See you later, Yakubaku." And so he stops, he turns, he smiles. He says, "See ya." And he gets his head cut in half, and that dude's dead.
Yakubaraku! Or what was his name?
His name is shouted literally right there.
Yakubabaku!
By a figure who has big old sandal clogs, but is just a silhouette in shadow, who remarks that this is disgusting. And he remarks, "What nonsense are these demon lords blathering about?" And Yoko Ono recognizes the figure.
I had to assume somebody powerful within the Exorcist organization.
Probably.
Yeah. Because it doesn't look like any of the demons we met, and the person is referring to demon lords separately. So
Yes, these demon lords, yeah.
would make sense.
Meanwhile, we cut over to a guy who's been beat up. He's part of the Exorcist Association. He's a veteran as well, and he's like, "Man, in all my years, I managed to make it this far, but damn." And he is facing down 3 demons, and he thinks like, "Man, my life it just ends here, I guess. But I'm gonna die in the line of duty, battling the Black Parade," and boom! And Kiyoshi just shows up and immediately decimates all of them on his entrance, and saves the guy.
Now, here's the thing that's crazy. These demons are like, "Let's decide with rock, paper, scissors." That's a stupid idea. That guy's got a giant pair of scissors. I know who he's definitely gonna pick.
It sort of seems like the tongue thing is also definitely going to go with paper, and it looks like the other guy does not have...
He doesn't have fingers. This is a bad game. This is a real bad game. They're all gonna tie.
They're gonna tie forever.
Yeah.
So Kiyoshi's decimated them, saved the guy, extends his hand out to him and says, "Hey, I've dealt with all the demons around here, so stay alive so we can enjoy our victory together." Isn't that a nice boy?
Yeah.
He heads off in order to help out more people. He's like, "I've got to keep on keeping my eyes out. I've got to make sure that nobody dies." But then he senses a foul evil, and it looks like the freaking Ninetales fox is off in the distance somewhere.
Yeah.
But as we get closer, we see that it is in the middle of a park, as riding on her feet with a swing set is Hydrako, one of the demon lords that we saw before, the one with the big gas mask. And she's got a bunch of exorcists hung up by the other swings on the swing set, hanging by the chains. And she's like, trying to hunt them down is a waste of time, so he should just come and find me. And she like goes over to one of them and is like, "Right, I'm amazing, right? And she starts, saying like, "What, you think he's gonna come? Maybe it's too simple though." But yeah, Kiyoshi of course shows up, immediately saves all the exorcists, breaks all the swings on the swing set, which seems unnecessary. Kids are gonna play on that later. Saves all of them and puts them on a bench safely. And Hydroko's like, "You did come, Kiyoshi Harai," which Kiyoshi's got a noted problem with female opponents.
True.
So maybe this will be a bit of a problem.
Very true. Well, outside of her gigantic breasts, is there a way to know that she's female?
The skirt, the long hair.
Suddenly if you wear a skirt, you have to automatically be female?
I didn't say
You don't
that.
think there's gender norms that can be broken in hell?
I mean, giant breasts also.
I mean, fair. But her knockers are definitely going to give her away.
Her name is kind of feminine.
Is it?
Ko. It's ending the name in Ko is usually a sign of a feminine name.
So if my name was Quinco, that sounds like I'm a business.
It does, actually, yeah.
This is a cool chapter, but doesn't really accomplish much. I kind of wish like the stuff with Neon and Jackjo at the start was where we kind of ended, because it's like the cooler place to end on. But like I get it. It's not called Ultimate Exorcist Jack
Neon
Joe
and
and
Jack
Neon.
Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of Exorcists, I guess that we should talk about that. We were like sitting together, just like reviewing manga, and we were kind of like observing like each other's reactions before we came up to record this, and we could kind of tell what chapter the other was going through. And when I got to New Exorcist, I just laughed when I opened it up because I couldn't believe that it opens this way, which is with God, oh wait, what's his actual name?
Gakurodoku or something like that.
Gasha
Gasha
Doran shows up last chapter and tries to, take away Shiroha, and Kiyoshi countered by slashing him with his sword, which is apparently super fucking effective because not only has Gasha Don been injured by this, but his upper body is falling from the sky and he is reflecting, why do I feel so elated? Like, he just hit you with his sword like normally.
He didn't even have to dash behind you real quick first. He just straight up was like, "Wah!"
He didn't even say Xenodark when he did it.
He didn't say Zeno anything. This is crazy.
Wah! Oh fuck.
Oh.
I'm used to a wire being there when I move my hand. Sorry.
You're all good.
Oh man, sorry about that. Very good. So anyway, he also is like, I released my hollow weapon. I knew it would burden Raisei and obstruct our mission, but I did it anyway. Boy, you're... And a massive shape appears in his vision, which seems to be the true visage of Niue. So he sees this. We come back over to Gakuro's team, and they're like, all right, well, we've got an escort waiting outside, so we've got to break the barrier. And Gakuro immediately has to start fighting against Gasha Dokan Suiteru, who says Shiro is like belongs to him. Yeah. Leave her here. And a big mouth appears underneath his body, made of many other mouths and bones. Suo observes, that thing's huge. It is.
Someone also goes, whoa, not good.
Yeah, because they're going to be eaten by it. It's a keen observation. Suo calls out for Gakuro and says, what do we do? Which, it's great that Shitatsu and Suo came to save the day and help out Gakuro and went through all the training and stuff. So
they got their giant upgrades to in the next chapter go, save us, Gakuro!
God.
Maybe their tops fell off. Maybe that's actually Gasha Hidoro's powers. He's like, all women's tops gone! I know I'm supposed to be the angry demon, but I'm also the horny demon! And they're like, damn, in this series, that's actually a very effective move. All women are powerless the moment their top is gone.
God. So that's happening. Suddenly, Gakuro goes into his inner world where Niue is there. And she says, oh, back again. This is your second time here. And Gakuro's like, oh, isn't this where you gave me power last time? Where the fuck else would it be? Where else have you been that looks even remotely like the inner void space of your mind where you get superpowers? What life do you lead, Gakuro?
What I love is he gets there and he's like, oh, cool, it's time for my next video game upgrade screen.
Any weight or any kind to it. And Niue's just like, it's time for you to grow some more. And he's like, yes!
That sounds cool!
Awesome!
I've earned it!
And, she's like, wow, you seem pretty happy about that. What kind of a reaction is that even? It's like, yes, he's happy about it. He gets a superpower. Come on. And he's like, can I protect everyone up after this? Like, well, it's up to you. And so he's like, okay, is this going to be like another 3 paths? And Niue's like, look, I haven't had enough physical appearances lately, so you're just getting all the boobs right now. Just your face right in there. And it's really, really weird because Gakuro just carries on like this is a normal thing for the rest of the conversation they have, even well before she releases him. She congratulates him for working hard and says, "You must sense it too. Your power is growing abnormally fast. That's because in mastering massacre gear, you're rapidly accustomed yourself to my power. It must feel as if you're being torn apart. It's like stuffing a second body into a first one. You're really right at your limit. You're just feeling me getting all up in there right now." And Gakuro very weirdly looks up nonchalantly as all else, chin smothered in her cups, and says, "You're light, Nue, so it's okay." What a strange boy he is.
It's weird because, like, I guess this is supposed to be character growth, but, like, earlier in the series, like, the idea of a woman in a swimsuit literally brought him, like, anxiety. And this time he's literally, like, face smashed in breast. He's just, honestly, kind of a suave line to throw out there if you needed to in the moment. Like, if he was trying to pick her up, he'd probably be successful.
It's pretty easy for me to carry you around.
You're actually pretty light, I'll have you know.
I could carry you and, I don't know, like 4 other women.
Anyways, can I double dash now?
What kind of QTE do I need to pass in order to win my fights now?
Can I chain my combos together?
Do I get a new victory screen afterwards that goes, yes?
Do I get a hook shot now?
I hope there's a whole dungeon that's built around it now. There'll be water in it and like differing levels and stuff, and people say it's really bad, but honestly, it'll be pretty good.
That was a great high five too. I don't know if that came through to the audience, but that was smooth. All right, what happens to this chapter?
Alright, so Nue declares, "It's time. Gakuro, your follow weapon is made of my power, and that means when it grows, I'll be fighting right along with you. It couldn't have happened if you hadn't worked hard and gotten used to my power, of course. There's no trial this time, except the power. Silver of eternal darkness is the hollow weapon you and I raised together." And there's a little montage of moments of them together, and surprisingly, very little fan service in it, because that's kind of what I just equate with montages in the series from now on.
We're too used to what was it? Agent Zero, when every time it would do a flashback, it'd be like a shot of Lucy getting tied up or whatever. Like,
remember that time Rebecca used her powers? Well, she was naked for a lot of them, so here you go.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, right.
And look, Quinn, Gakuro's got a new form this time, and it actually is distinct from his previous forms.
I was going to say, this visually looks different than what it looks like, so I'm okay with this.
Now, it is very clearly Ichigo's Bankai, but...
Nick, are you telling me that this arc, in any way, shape, or form, resembles the Soul Society arc from Bleach? This series, which to this point has almost no connection with that series whatsoever, besides its power system, its setting, and its general vibe.
I'm trying to think of how... the only thing that arc had that this didn't have was stuff for the side characters to do.
I was going to say stuff that made it good.
But
no, he got to fight his Renji, some dude we just met, and now he's going to fight...
Now, the captain, well, now...
Now he's going to... No, right now he's fighting, I don't know,
Aizen,
Aizen or Hueco Mundo, something like that. Whatever. But then eventually, he'll fight the captain, who's a big deal.
So, he takes this new form, and he's very heroically still, got Shiroha gathered up in his arms and stuff. Meanwhile, Nue finishes her out and says, "Naturally, your soul armor needs to be cooler than anyone else's."
I mean, it's successful in the fact that everyone else who's gotten have been women, and they just get, bikinis. So, yeah, I guess by process of elimination, it's the coolest.
I feel like the guy that he fought before had cooler soul armor, but... whatever.
That's true. I don't remember that guy as much.
So, he appears... Gasha Dokapan looks mildly surprised, I guess. And so Shitatsu is like, "What's with this hollow weapon? Actually, he seems different too." Gakuro slashes his sword, and it obliterates the giant mouth skull thing and forces it back. And Gasha Doragon Soul says, so this is what's causing that elation. The shadow of Nue behind him was an omen of his hollow weapon's growth and proof that this is Nue's vessel. It also proves this boy has begun to make her power his own. What a specimen. I found a medium of the highest quality. And
fuck the girl. Join me.
Just gets right up to Gakuro. Is like, join me. Come on. You've got awesome bonding power with a spirit. I've never seen that before. It's really, really awesome. Join with me. And Gakuro says, no!
No!
And he says, come on, you're the enemy! Which, I'm not sure if that's the dumbest thing he's ever said or the smartest. Because, like, he's right. So, I'm running out of do jokes.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many do you have left?
Gasha do re mi fa sol la ti do says, I won't let you go, though. I didn't even intend that to rhyme. He's like, second hollow weapon release, Funeral Blade Tomogara. This skull has a sword in it. So it's extra cool.
Now, Nick, as the Master of Skulls, which is a pretty dope title, to be honest.
I'll take this.
How does this rate on the skull scale?
So this is actually something that really bothers me whenever people do a skull sword thing, is that it feels like there's always a temptation to have the skull not have the jaw on it, and I feel like that disrupts the image of it. I understand it makes physically more sense, like logistically, because you can like just have the pommel go in there and not have the mandibles in the way and stuff like that. I think it's a cop-out, though.
That's fair.
I think if you're going to have a skull on a sword, it needs to be a whole skull. This one does not have the jaw, so...
So if you were to give it a rating out of 10?
I would give it 3 crossbones out of 5.
All right. Yeah. Well, now we know.
Yeah.
I hope we can start up. You're not familiar with the Magic the Gathering designer Mark Rosewater, but he has several scales that he puts for all of his things. Like he's famously has the Storm scale, which is the chance that a mechanic will likely return in another standard legal set. Okay. And it's named the Storm scale because the Storm mechanic was so like very powerful that they were like, we are never going to make this a major mechanic again. It is a 10 on the Storm scale. So I want to see Nick's skull scale, and every time you're like, this is a 3, this is a 4, this is a 5. We're great skull over here.
Gotcha. Fight continues, and Gakuro declares, Yodama, expanding slash, and Yodama appears out of the weapon. It's a little chibi head, and it makes a grid line, and she says, slash mapping complete, ready when you are, and Gakuro slashes the sword once, and the entire area that has been mapped out gets cut along those lines. And honestly, it's a cool execution of this concept.
I'm going to say this now. This might be controversial, and I should maybe say this not next to Nick, who could physically attack me. I've always thought Ichigo's Bankai kind of sucked ass. He kind of just ran fast. The fact that this like actually does something is cool, except it's less slashes than his last sword does. Didn't his last sword slash something like 80,000 times at a second or something like that? Like, wasn't that Xenodark or something like that? It was just like, it's like 1,000 slashes. Hiya!
The point is that he has broken the barrier.
He's very powerful.
And also fought off Gasha Do... I don't know.
Is that Simpsons?
No.
Oh. What about Gasha Dojo?
Gasha Dojo, the smoke dragon? Yeah. Jaman Choda. So, the barrier is broken, and they're like, look, the return gate's right there. And so it's like, hey, is everybody on? Are we all good to go? And it's like, yes, the 3 people are all there. They did not leave your vehicle. It's fine. So they fly in, and they come in through the gate, and they've made it. Rescue complete.
Done and done.
Hey, awesome.
It's all good.
Gasha Dotilaso Rami Fedo.
You did that one.
No, I went backwards this time.
Oh.
I think I fucked it up too. I think I messed it up. But he is accused by Raisei of letting them go on purpose. But he says, "I finally found somebody good, and you were pretty close to killing him. You're a monster now too, huh?" But Raisei says, "I was a monster to begin with. This isn't much different. Now, let's assemble the hero."
Nick, does it excite you to know that he has unlocked his Bankai and we are assembling the Hyo, which means we are one step closer to the end of the series?
When you put it like that.
Honestly, in that way, this might be the best chapter of New Exorcist yet. I don't hate it, though. I actually think Gakuro's new design is at least interesting. As you said, it is just Ichigo's Bankai.
But Ichigo's Bankai is really good.
It's a good, I was like, if you're going to steal, and you're already stealing, do it from something that's good. So, yeah, I'm okay with that, I guess. Other than that, I don't know, this kind of felt like a weird anticlimax, but I guess this is just supposed to be like part one of a longer arc that's going to happen when, I guess, Gakuro, and that captain dude show up and like attack them. Because I assume he has to be relevant to all this, right? Unless maybe he's the vessel that Gasha Doka is going to use.
Maybe.
I don't know. You introduced him. He's got to do something, right?
Yeah.
And what about little Kyoko? What about a little short stack?
Oh, right.
Yeah,
what happened to her?
What's she going to do?
Oh, that's a good question. Man, that arc raised a lot of questions that it did not linger on at all, didn't it? All right, there is, before we move on, there is a quick little thing for Marriagetoxin, which is just the collected paintings. It's color illustrations. They're very cute. There's a lot of Gero hanging out with Kinosaki, and then there's some of the love interests, including like some that we have seen before from like previous extra chapters. From like
I think all of these are old ones.
I
don't remember these ones. Those ones might be new with the rings, but I think everything else we've seen before.
They're cute. They're nice.
Yeah.
But we'll get a new chapter next week. Now let's do Akane-banashi.
Chapter or story 149, release.
Yeah, it's got a color page of Akane hanging out with Tyson.
Can I note, I'm not super excited for this kid though. He keeps putting like color pages and stuff like this. I'm like, am I supposed to like care about this character going forward? Because right now I don't really know what I'm supposed to think about him.
It seems like he's going to play the Akane to Akane's new older sister apprentice role. So it's a different dynamic for her. And it seems like, especially if we're going to continue forward with this thing of like, no, Akane's in the Arakawa school, then we need to kind of establish more of her like surrounding supporting cast.
I guess so.
Especially because we have it brought up in this chapter that like there was an opportunity for Koguma to like meet up with her in this, and he turned it down. So they are all sticking with their plan of like, we are not going to see each other until we are ready to come back together.
It is a thing of like, all right, these characters are all going to do their thing. We won't see a ton of them, but like at the same time, there's so many characters in this series to like think about that I'm like, fuck, another one.
Akane exits the stage, the MC comes out and is like, all right, well, I guess I gotta do my job if she's gonna like set the stage like that. Tyson reflects on what Guriko told him, which is like, hey, you know, you're gonna need to be like her. And so he's like, wow, so this is Akane Arakawa. And as Akane comes off stage, she immediately is like starting to go. So she's like, oh, that whole like motion sickness thing did not fade. In fact, when she did the ad lib about the ship making her sick, she just kind of used it as an excuse to go on stage. So good cover. It really worked. But Tyson is like, it's pathetic. All right, I'll go put on some tea for you, Aneki. And, so he is treating her like, you know, with some respect now as an older sister apprentice. But Akane is like, you should be calling me Nason. Go higher than that. But suddenly, click. Watch sounds, and both Akane and Tyson feel a presence as they are approached by another Rakugoka, one who gets a big full-page spread introduction where he's surrounded by clockwork. And he says, 3 minutes to focus the mind before performance. That is my custom. And he is the vice chairman of the Rakugo Federation, the Okanban Shomei Subarikiya. And Akane, you know, kind of like gathers herself because she was just having a bit of motion sickness attack, and she says, sorry for the late introduction, I'm Akane. And he says, that's all right, say the introduction for another day. I overheard your discussion.
pops open a little portable medicine kit and gives her a thing and says, "Take this." And she's like, "What is it?" He says, "These should ease your symptoms, this herbal medicine." And she goes to him, "Oh, thank you." And he says, "Don't bother thanking me. I'm merely following my customs." That's his thing. Customs. He's got customs, guys.
Is that, and he loves precision. He has got all these clocks and stuff like that.
See, everything is like a clock. All the gears meshed together.
He's very precise. I mean, it's Rakugo. There's only so many things you could do with it to give people special powers. So, like, the idea is like, I nail every syllable on the dot. Like, that's his thing.
Everyone's got to have a gimmick. And this is it's a fine gimmick. So, he tells Akane to get going, and so she kind of like starts like half crawls off, like, okay. She reflects on a conversation that she had with Shigema about her version, Shigema's version of God of Death, which came from Shomei's father, the previous Master Shomei. And so Akane is like, wait, so his father was a Master Rakugoka? And he's like, no, not just his father. Shomei Subakiya is the one Myoseki in the Rakugo world that is hereditary. That man is the descendant of an entire Rakugo clan.
That's some crazy pressure.
And when you think about how old Rakugo is, it goes back hundreds of years. So that's a lot.
Like to the medieval ages.
It's like the 1600s or something like that.
Like the swords and castles?
Yes, yes.
Okay, cool.
They had swords and castles, yes.
Horses?
I think they had horses back
Oh, good. Brings me like a real sin.
I would feel really bad for those old people that
They didn't have horses. How'd they get to their castles?
They didn't have cars, Nick, obviously.
Yeah, cars came like 30, 40 years later. Or wait, did they still need to invent the wheel?
You can't be seen right now. You can't see me if I can't see you. Oh my god. Fuck, I'm running out of steam. Shomei recognizes that because both Chocho and Hasho, that being the old master that Akane had a bit of tension with way back when she first was doing her Zenza training, but that grew to like her better, had told him about her. And so, but his only thought is, so that's Toru Osaki's daughter. Which, it's again interesting when you have thought of like, oh, this guy is defined by his lineage.
Exactly.
That he draws that comparison. But also he addresses him by his real name, not by his Rakugo name. So, yeah. Another Rakugoka says to him, "It's like, oh, this seems like a tough environment because the crowd's still buzzing after all that performance. So hopefully, you don't get shown up by a futatsume." And Shohei says, without laughing, "That's very funny," which is always a great move. And he says, "I recognize her skill, but she doesn't have the sight. This is still the art of a futatsume." And we don't get to see his performance. It is expected that he did just fine, I'm sure. Afterwards, Akane is feeling a lot better after she's gotten some rest. She is greeted by Master Iken, and he says, like, "Oh, I was doing a job in the area, so I wanted to step in with you." He makes the note that Koguma had a chance to come in as well, but he didn't want to. And Akane's like, "Yeah, the time's not right yet." Yeah. Iken leads her off and says, like, "Have you heard about Master Shigema?" Akane just says, "I have. I want to go see him, but I'm waiting to hear from my Keruani-san first." No context for what that's about.
Yes.
Is Shigema sicker? Is he well? Is he doing anything?
They said see him, so the implication would
Is
be
he
he's
dead?
Yeah, I was like, he's alive, I presume, unless they stuffed his corpse, or.
You can go and see someone at their grave, Quinn.
But you wouldn't say I'm gonna go see him.
Yes, you would.
What?
Yeah, some people would romanticize it that way. I can't imagine that Akane would have stayed in France if he died, though.
Yeah, that seems pretty crazy.
She would have come back for the funeral, I think. Or for the wake, I should say.
Party.
Woo!
the hoedown as they, I believe, ceremonially have in Japan.
Hambone Jackson leading the
He was like, I always knew this was gonna come up in handy. It's actually
you gotta know two arts in Rakugo. That's where I learned the jug.
That's actually why he's a part of the Rakugo team. It's so that they can have him for all their hoedowns.
Their funerary hoedowns.
They're like, he's actually dog shit at Rakugo, but he throws a great hoedown when you die. He just shows up with the same jug. Let's commence the hoedown.
Oh my god.
Anyways, he says things have been interesting for Arakawa
Yeah.
as you've been away.
Yes, but he also says, we can catch up on that later. He's waiting for you. And Isho is waiting there. He gets a whole full-page spread because he's Isho Arakawa, and he demands it every time he shows up.
It's very terrifying. Yeah, he doesn't show up in the chapter unless he gets a full-page spread.
Yeah,
it's a
part of
writer.
his contract. Akane kneels in the ring before him and says, she starts to be very formal and say, today I returned from France, and he shows his no speeches.
He's like, shut up.
Shut up. What have you gained from your training? And Akane pauses, and she says, it's not so much about what new things I learned. And she reflects on her experiences, the time that she, was having, struggles in France early on, and then realizing I have Rakugo. And she lifts her head and says, as realizing the greatness of what I already had. And Isho pauses for a moment. He says, a trifling discovery, but not a bad one.
Ooh, a little praise in that.
I release your restrictions. I assume you've come here to learn about Shigema's art. I'll give you answers about the path you must seek. Well, that's big.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think she's going to learn it quite yet, but I think she's going to learn how she could start getting to know it or something like that. Like, she might be given a little bit of advice on, like, what's going to happen and, maybe, like, something she'll need to work on or something like that.
I love every time that Akane and Isho have an interaction. It's dynamite every single time.
It's a really good combo. He's... I'm sorry, I really like the comment from Rudder. Hambone was visiting his brother in France, Hambone Jackson.
Hambone Jackson.
Oh, great. This is a really good chapter. I just said that Akane and Isho are just fire every time they hang out together. I shouldn't say hang out. They don't. I don't think they hang. But this is kind of what I've been waiting for since Akane got back. Like, it's kind of what I was waiting for when she got brought underneath him. Was like, all right, let's get some scenes.
Absolutely.
All right, Nick, let's
One Piece.
wrap up weekly manga recap with One Piece chapter 1142. This is a lot of fucking manga. What I'm afraid of. And our cover page is Yamato being like, fuck you, dude. And he just beats up fucking who's who. Just like single strike, boom, he's done.
I like that there's not even like a standoff beforehand that we see. We go from who's who being like, ha ha ha, torture.
So we start the chapter with a bunch of the kids calling for their teacher because they're like, this really big snake is in the yard. It must be Jormungandr. It's the snake that's going to bring the end of the week. And I did like that one kid's like, the end of the week, you mean Saturday? And they're like, no, it's going to eat us. But there is a giant snake eating them. It's drawn in a very shaded, distinct style, too. We go to the faculty room inside of the Walrus School as Mr. Blade, the math teacher, has shown up to let Miss Ange, the librarian, and Principal Tusk know that there is an actually really enormous snake there right now. And everyone's like, how did a beast from the underworld get up here? The snake looks like it's going to chomp down on one of the kids. Principal Tusk comes out with a big, like, hammer, like a giant hammer shaped like tusks at the end. It looks like, didn't Zudomon have this? Yeah. Very Zudomon-esque, which is honestly high compliment. Zudomon kind of ruled.
Underrated.
Yeah. Wallops the snake right in the chin, leads him up, and we see Saul running across the tree above it.
Yeah.
And he jumps off, puts Haki over his fist, and says, sorry I'm late. Midterm Exclam.
That's a good move name.
It's so good. I love it. Seems to have defeated the snake. It's not moving, and we see that Tusk, the principal, was a former member of the Giant Pirates. And he's like, thanks for the help, Saul. And they're like, hey, some of the kids, I guess, are kind of curious. Like, you used to be a warrior too? The rumors were true. Mr. Saul is super duper strong. And Robin just asked, she's like, are there monsters like this in the Sun World usually, Saul? And he's like, not really. They're just kind of like regular wild animals. Saul apologizes to the children about the scare, but there is a scream from inside the school as something has happened to Mr. Wolf, the gym teacher. He's covered in blood, as we see in the next panel. And Anji, okay. And I hope she doesn't come up that much, because there's already too many characters to know here. He's basically like, fucking forget me. Who gives a shit? Save the kids. What happened to them? They note that Ylva and the others wandered off somewhere. There is a moment where one of the kids goes up to Robin and is like, hello, are you Luffy's friend? And she's like, that's right. Did Luffy do something to you? And I think this might be the kid that Luffy walloped, actually.
Right.
Saul goes running out there, and what's his fucking name? Mr. Wolf decides, gives him a warning where he's like, you mustn't touch the children. We don't know exactly what that means, because we cut away as Saul is asking, like, which way did Ova and them go? That way, towards the beach. And they were, like, one of the kids is like, hey, Mr. Saul, what happened? Like, they fell asleep and they won't talk to us. And Robin's like, asleep? But you said they were walking? She's like, yeah, they're all asleep and they won't respond to us. And we see this image of, like, this, line of children who are all sleepwalking, but they're being led by one of Gunko's arrows.
Yeah. Manga, of course, did see that you could do all sorts of things with that. So, yeah.
So it's looking pretty bad. Principal Tusk is like, we got to blow the horn. We'll warn the whole country. And Saul's like, that might be going overboard. And he's like, no, this is looking pretty bad. Look at the forest. And Saul sees something, and the horn just gets blown. We see that there are more monsters out there. Giant birds and a giant wolf, it looks like, from the shadow. And the children start passing out spontaneously, suddenly. They're like, I don't get it. What's going on? Chopper's like, let me take a look at them. The first thing we should do is stop the children and get them to safety. We cut away over, though, to the underworld, where Prince Loki is standing up, and he's like, you thought leaving one leg trapped in sea prism stone would contain the true extent of my power? That was foolish of you. If you want to save Elbaph, undo the final cuff now. You'll soon see I'm not really helpless. You'll soon see if I'm really helpless or not in this condition. He has his big hammer.
I love how he's towering over the Haryuden.
Yeah.
Like, Haryuden comes up to, like, the top of his boot, it looks like.
Yes, this dude looks gigantic. He says, better hurry, though. If I keep landing blasts, eventually they'll hit something, and the fires will spread. You know what Elbaph is susceptible to, as Frankie established, last week?
Lightning and fire.
Yep. So he says, I can bring you all to ruin, and he swings his giant hammer. It looks like it slams into the tree. There's a big effect. Everyone's like, ah! And lightning flashes and strikes the tree, catching fire to it. And a bunch of people are like, King Ja Rule, is that fire here? What's going on? Did I hear a horn? You get to hear it in person now.
Yeah.
Anything but fire. We have to put it out. Hurry. There's a bunch of panic. But Anje is saying, I recognize these figures from earlier today. And she is reminded of somebody who says, Loki has a huge hammer and he destroys the world. No, he doesn't. The one who destroys the world is Nika. And one of the kids holds up a drawing of Nika. And all the other kids start to pull up the things they think are really scary. They're like, actually, the scariest thing is Fenrir. No, it's the Draugr. No, it's the storms. No, it's... They're all going through all these different things. And Ova is like, teacher, if I have to hear about all these scary things, I'm going to have nightmares tonight. And Anja is like, I'm happy to see so much creativity in all of these essays and everything. It's very imaginative and expressive. It's great. We see in the present, Andre is like, all of these things are what the children drew based on what they're afraid of. And we get a final 2-page spread to end the chapter. These things are a vision of the world that terrifies the children the most. And we see all of these terrifying visages. We see Fenrir. We see an evil Nika. We see a Draugr crawling up out of the forest. It's all these terrifying things.
A bear with a hard hat.
Yeah. But we finish the chapter with killing him, going, okay, we're all ready to... And they are told they did a good job, I assume by Summers. And they, Killing him notes, the time limit is until the kids reach the ship. Do you think you can get them back? And Summers just says, yeah, to know love is to wound one another. Say, Gunko, are you afraid of anything? And the chapter ends with Gunko simply responding, Nika.
Yeah, so it looks like all three of them are using their powers together.
Yes.
It would seem that, the sleep is one, the monsters are another, and then Gunko, of course, is directing the asleep children with her power. Because, these world noble types, they're good. They're good people that kidnap children.
Well, as again noted from Astro Royale, sometimes a little human trafficking is actually kind of noble when you think about it. It depends on how good of a punch you had with another guy in a fight. Yeah,
absolutely. If you come to an understanding afterwards, so after Luffy punches one of them, if they decide to ally with him.
Killing him, we hope, right?
Well, yeah, I guess. Then I guess it'll be all okay after that.
Yeah.
But that's manga.
That is manga this week. We have our MVPs and our chapter of the week. I know mine.
Okay.
My MVP is going to be Nagisa, because she did something this week.
She did something this week.
My chapter of the week is going to be Embers, though. I really like this chapter of Embers. I might just be like a simp for sports manga, but like when a sports manga is good, it's like the best thing to read in my mind.
I'm definitely going to echo you on Nagisa. It was just really nice to see that and to have, like you were talking about before, just like have characters talk about things.
Yeah.
And be honest with each other. It was really nice. There were a lot of really good chapters this week. We get lucked out for getting to do this in person. I think that my favorite chapter out of them was, I think I'm going to say Dandadan.
Okay, that was a good chapter as well.
I really liked the action in it and how everything just like was moving, and how there was that big moment of triumph, and honestly, just the one visual of my just with the pixies turning into a basketball player.
That is so. Yeah, the basketball player pygmy is so cool.
But Akane-banashi, I really liked the ending of it. I thought that One Piece was intriguing. I thought Chainsaw Man was interesting, and me asking a lot of questions that I want the answers to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The audience, by the way, Nagisa did win Character of the Week, and I believe, Ichi the Witch won Chapter of the Week, which I understand as well. That was also, I think, a really good chapter.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. Well, thank you for joining us for this special episode of Weekly Manga Recap. We'll be back to our usual setup probably next week.
Next week, internet issues will occur again. Discord will screw us over, and that's just going to be how it is.
But you'll get to see more of my face because I won't lose sight of the fact that I'm disappearing behind the microphone.
Yes.
So look forward to that. We stream from here on twitch.tv/RoloT. It tends to go...
I stream actually always from here.
Yes. Usually we do it starting around 7:30 Eastern time, but you gotta stay on the ball because we started a little early this week.
Yeah.
And sometimes we start a bit later than that. So follow us on social media, RoloT, Nick F Time, and Weekly Manga Recap on BlueSky. Also follow WMR Vote.
I was trying to point at the Weekly Manga Recap logo, but as you can tell, I've never done YouTube, so I don't I always forget how to reverse myself, and I don't know.
WMR Votes, also follow that. That's
Yes.
where you can vote on the weekly polls that happen for favorite series and MVP. And also find the Google Doc associated with everything, which is maintained by Ninja X3i. Thank you for that. We would forget about so many things associated with the history of our show if not for that help.
Yes.
We also want to thank Milo Jack Stillitz and Wizard Cheddar for creating the opening sequence of the YouTube version of Weekly Manga Recap. That's youtube.com/Weekly Manga Recap. The audio version's on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com. Also listenable on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast feed type places. And also the YouTube version occasionally has title cards by Steve Man. You can check out his artwork, Steve Man Art. And we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Weekly Manga Recap. Where you can help monetarily support the show and also just check out some bonus episodes that we have done together.
Yes. There are going to be some bonus ones coming up very soon. Episode uploads have been going on. I know I've been hurt. I've been hearing that the Gamblefish episode wasn't up there. I legitimately thought I uploaded that one.
Oh,
that was like a moment where I was like, okay, well, I got Gamblefish. Because I remember, it's weird because I was like, I remember the joke that I used. Like, I always, like, when it's a recommendation, I'll give it a little joke as the blurb. And then I was like, nope, I just came up with that and then
Didn't write it
just
anywhere.
imagine the rest. So that'll be coming up very soon then, and as well as some bonus pod stuff. So
Thank you guys, and have a good one. We'll see you next week.
it's going to be weird when we're not able to, like,
is.
see each other again. Yeah, it's just like,
All right, I'll chop off my head and leave it here.
I was going to say, what if I flew down to Florida for next week? And we'll just alternate.
Yep.
Just keep switching back and forth.
I was almost with you there. Good night, everyone.
Bye!